show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are here until 4 p.m. Now, I know that the Fletch zone, did I say 4 p.m.? We're here until 6 p.m. You know what? New rules. We're here until 4 p.m. We make the rules.
I just pulled a Scooby. I was like, huh?
They wanted 4-hour show, and this is what they get 2-hour show.
A 1-hour show.
Right? No, we started at 2. So we're actually here until 6 p.m. And then at 6:30, I'll be at Viejas Arena because we have pregame coverage for San Diego State Air Force. Jim just talked about it. Now, the Fletch zone just had Kevin Acee.
Nice.
Yeah, everyone has Kevin Acee.
Oh, this must be nice.
Of course, we had Kevin yesterday. If we had a far-reaching, I like that. You hear that?
Yeah.
Ben Fletcher, we had him
hear
first.
that? Sammy and Fletch?
Yeah, what's up?
We had him first. They're not paying
They don't
attention.
even care. Yeah. So if you missed our conversation, I mean, it was far-reaching. You're going to hear it coming up at 2:30. Now, JB Long is the voice of the Rams. The NFL is monitoring the conditions in Southern California. Our thoughts are with everyone impacted, okay? Because oftentimes in sports, it gets so vitriol-based. Mm-hmm. I hate this team. I hate this team.
And none of it matters.
And it does. It's real. I mean, but you're right. You're right. It doesn't. It's not real life. It's not displacement from homes. It's not life and death.
Yeah.
And we understand the dynamic between Los Angeles and San Diego. We all live in Southern California. We all can be impacted by wildfire. Nobody wants to see what's playing out. Palisades, Pasadena, Los Angeles County. It could play out in any of these counties. We've seen it firsthand. San Diego County, Orange County, Los Angeles County, Northern California, which you've seen firsthand. We're thinking about people impacted. This signal reaches Los Angeles County. Mm-hmm. We have people on the app. We have people on YouTube. You know what? You might not like the Dodgers. We are all in favor of everyone being safe, listening to evacuation orders, take care of yourself. We're thinking about first responders. This goes well beyond sports, what's playing out in Southern California over the last 2 days.
I didn't really pay too much attention to the fires until
last night,
late last night, because I'll be honest, so hyper focused on what's going on the show and, getting that taken care of. I didn't even know fires were happening, really. I saw some, news, but I didn't realize they were this bad until last night. And I know people that live in that area.
They're coming down right now. I have friends that are actually going to be on my couch in about 20 minutes.
I have some friends that live in close to Malibu.
Yeah,
and
it's been impacted. Yeah,
we were texting last night, and they were away from the fires. They didn't have to evacuate just yet, but they were taking turns sleeping because they didn't want to go to bed.
And then there was a fire all of a sudden,
something happened.
In. Yeah,
it's a natural disaster. It is awful. Firsthand experience with fires in my hometown in Northern California years ago, and I went back home and we had to evacuate our house, and the fires burned down a house that was right across the street from one of our old houses down up in Northern California. So it's a awful scene. I mean, this is bad, and I can't help but think of everybody that is displaced right now and have lost their homes and their livelihood, and it's just going to be an absolute mess going forward. And I can't help but think about everybody that's dealing with that today.
It's a scene so I have a lifelong friend who's on his way to San Diego right now that's about to be in my place while I'm here, and actually might go to the Aztec game tonight with his 6-year-old. Actually just turned 7, and his wife. And I mean, the video they're sending me from the Palisades,
that's their video,
is I mean, this is video
from video. Yeah.
I mean,
everything's gone.
It looks like
it's awful.
A war-torn third world country. Yeah. And here's the thing. Tangible items are replaceable. If you get out safe and in one piece, that's what matters most. So again, listen to local authorities, listen to evacuation orders. There's Santa Ana winds. I just said walking to school when school came back after like a 2-week holiday break.
It's windy, right?
Well, that, and also I said to someone just not even thinking about it on Monday, I said, you know what? Jones hasn't once put on a rain jacket, or have we once used an umbrella walking to school? It has not rained one time since the school year started. This was the 90th day of the school year. It hasn't rained.
No.
So it hasn't rained for forever. You have the terrible conditions of the combination of the Santa Ana winds. It doesn't rain, the brush.
Yeah.
And this thing, when they say it spreads like wildfire, they're not kidding. I mean, it happens in an instant, and you just got to get out. And my buddy, who's on his way down yesterday and was driving through like fire conditions, his wife was on a Zoom call. He said, honey, she was doing work. He said, we got to go. Like there is fire in the backyard. We have to go. And they packed up their laptops and some jewelry and made their way out. And they don't even know if they're home standing or not. It may be, it may not be.
Yeah. The two worst things you could have are fire and wind.
Combine together. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. It's a no-win situation. No amount of firefighters can stop it. You just kind of have to almost let it run its course because there's nothing you can do.
Right.
And that's how the fire in my hometown happened in Northern California. I know the fires here in San Diego, like years ago.
The massive ones that reached all the way to the water.
It all gets started mostly with, wind. Everything's dry.
There's really not much you can do about it.
And then
a spark,
and then you're done. And it's just awful scenes. You see it and you're just like, this is real. Like people were taking videos I'm sure you saw it, of them taking off from LAX outside of the plane window.
It looks like the world's on fire.
You just see the entire, it's crazy. It's awful.
So we'll talk to JB Long about this Rams postseason game that's supposed to take place in Inglewood Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings. You have a Kings NHL game that was postponed tonight. You had UCLA. Somehow I was watching UCLA Michigan last night. Maybe it was on the Big Ten Network. I don't know where it was. And I'm thinking to myself, how is UCLA basketball playing right now in Westwood when the Palisades, I don't know enough about it. They played the game and I guess Michigan got out.
Did you see 710 ESPN couldn't broadcast today, their live shows, because their transmitter was in the fire?
Was that right?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that.
So they couldn't broadcast today because their transmitter was it got burned down.
Actually, a good reminder in general. Like this is a good PSA because again, we always talk about this AM radio. Like it's for moments like this. Like the AM radio matters when you are untethered from the internet and you lack power, and maybe you turn on a terrestrial radio or maybe you get in a vehicle and you're looking for information. And we've been talking about this. You can text AM to 52886 to support keeping AM radio in cars. It's basically for this critical information, right? Earthquake, fire, weather conditions. Like when you're separated from information, when you need information badly, that's when AM radio is most important. So again, follow local evacuation orders. We're thinking about everyone impacted by these fires that have played out over the last 48 hours. Of course, we're keeping our eye on the return of San Diego State basketball tonight. We'll talk about that. 7:30, a must win for the Aztecs against the Air Force Academy because it's a quote-unquote quad 4 game. So we'll get into that over the next 4 hours. We've done more diving into this lawsuit, of course, that is impacting the San Diego Padres organization. Sheel Seidler filed it earlier this week, the widow of Peter Seidler, and she seeks control of the San Diego Padres organization from Peter Seidler's brothers. There's a lot in here. Even, we didn't have a full amount of time, Jim, yesterday after speaking with Kevin and after reading the response from the Seidler brothers to fully react to that. Because remember, Sheel files the lawsuit. The Seidler brothers have responded to that. And then, Sheel's representation has even responded to the brothers. But there's been a lot of back and forth over the first 48 hours here since this lawsuit has been filed.
So reading, because this was from Matt Seidler, and I read the whole thing on the SeidlerTrust.com last night.
PeterSeidlerTrust.com.
Yeah. It's an interesting read because there's things in there that he absolutely disputes wholeheartedly, 100%. One of the biggest ones, and in the letter, it's like underlined that they will not, under any circumstances, move the franchise at all. So that was a dispute that they made towards Sheel in that lawsuit. Now, Sheel wasn't saying that they're going to move the franchise.
She said perhaps.
Yeah, it was like a feeling. Like I feel it that down the road, perhaps they could move the franchise.
But when you say something like that,
you strike a nerve with people of San Diego.
Yeah,
for sure. Like you talk about relocation in this town, it's like a curse word on the radio. It's like everyone's like, what?
Yeah,
excuse me, can't say it. The other thing was now this has nothing to do with any legal documents or any as far as who controls the franchise or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the claim of racist comments made by Sheel Seidler from the wife of one of the Seidler brothers towards her
Right.
was not disputed. It was merely stated from Matt Seidler that Sheel was going after somebody with I guess a medical condition.
Right.
And that to me was like, well, hold on. So you aren't saying that she didn't say those things. So she did say those things to Sheel.
But
you're blaming her medical condition on why she said that? No. You can't be blaming someone's medical condition for why they're being racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me read that portion of it. I'm glad you brought it up. While I categorically disagree with virtually every claim in Sheel's complaint, this is from the Seidler brothers, there are two specific issues that warrant immediate response. The first involves allegations against the Seidler family, particularly in regard to messages with inappropriate language from one sister-in-law who has never had any involvement in Peter's trust or the Padres. So again, not disputing what Sheel is saying about racial undertones or just racism in general. And then going on to say Sheel is well aware that this individual faces difficult personal health challenges, and most importantly, that the hurtful language does not at all reflect the thoughts or feelings of any other family member. So you're basically backing up Sheel's claim.
Yes.
You're not disputing that portion of the claim. You're saying this person is going through a hardship, and maybe there's something we're not aware. I mean, this doesn't lay it all out.
No.
Right? I don't know if it's a mental health issue, if it's something beyond that. But to your point, it's not disputing what Sheel said in the lawsuit.
Correct. And that's where I'm, looking at this and saying, all right, even before the response from the Seidler brothers, you kind of felt like, okay, there's some teeth here. Like you mentioned that, like there's something here.
Yeah.
Why would Sheel, file this lawsuit for just no reason, other than her main motive being she wants to be in control of the Padres because she feels like her brothers or his brothers aren't doing right by his legacy. So then, okay, well, I need to hear responses from Matt and the brothers. And then the response came out. And then you see his response towards the racist comments. And I'm like, if you're going to use somebody's, I guess, medical condition for the reason why they're, saying these hurtful racist things towards somebody, no.
Yeah, that doesn't pass the
does not
test.
Nope.
But here's the other thing, and I agree with you. Listen, some of the stuff that she alleges in the lawsuit is essentially reprehensible, hence the fact that everyone's on Team Sheel. Or not everyone, but a lot of people, right? What I would say, and I completely agree, like some of this is completely, I think reprehensible is the right word. I don't know, though, if it has any impact on who controls the franchise.
It doesn't. It's more of like a public perception thing.
I think it confirms that some of what she alleges is in fact true. How do we know this? Because the brothers, in fact, don't dispute what she's saying with some of these claims is not true.
Right.
But when it comes to the crux of the matter, does a sister-in-law's racist text have anything to do with who ultimately controls the future of the San Diego Padres? My guess is probably not.
It doesn't.
But it does impact public opinion.
Yes, just like, her Sheel's claims how she's not allowed in the owner's suite anymore. That doesn't affect who the control person of the Padres franchise is.
Right.
Or how, whatever other claims that she says that has nothing to do with being control person. There's something interesting I want to talk about coming up next in the letter from Matt Seidler, where, he's claiming that she can't be control person, but yet he's also throwing out opinions on why, and that doesn't match up. There's something that doesn't match up in Matt Seidler's letter that was released yesterday.
Okay, we'll share that with you on the other side. Then if you missed Kevin Acee, a lot of insight. We're going to share that with you coming up at 2:30. We're here until 6. We have Aztec basketball tickets for next week to give away. It's Jon and Jim. All right, if you missed our conversation with Kevin Acee, it's an extensive one, so we'll share it with you in about 10 minutes. We are here until 6. JB Long will join us at 3:30. We have pairs of tickets to give away for San Diego State, Colorado State next Tuesday at Viejas Arena. And we'll get you ready for tonight as well, San Diego State and Air Force. All right, what did you want to share here as we continue the conversation about the lawsuit filed by Sheel and then the response from the brothers?
So if they have legal documents stating that,
the trust determines the chairman.
Yes, and the brothers have that vote and right to choose who the person is, or at least nowhere in there does it say that Sheel should be or will be the control person of the team.
Quick on that. Layman version is there are trustees. They choose the chairman.
Correct.
The Peter Seidler Trust has trustees. Mm-hmm. The trustees choose the chairman. That's how we've ended up theoretically at Jon Seidler, Peter's brother.
In this letter, he states, Sheel unexpectedly asked me to designate her as the control person late last July. Then he also says, nevertheless, I considered Sheel's request and ultimately determined, consistent with Peter's perspective, that she was not qualified. So,
right. So it was based on his determination. Is this Matt that's writing this?
Yes, this was Matt.
Okay, so this is, and he's the brother of Peter.
Correct. He's the younger
and he looks
brother.
To be, no joke, he looks to be, is he not 30 years younger than Peter?
Close to it.
Okay.
Yeah. He is very young compared to Peter.
Right.
So this is not about like Sheel being prohibited from being the control person.
Right. Like she was considered.
But they are saying, along with what Sheel is stating, like they told me and they're telling me that I'm not qualified to do this. But is there legal? Why? Like, so the brothers are saying, yeah, we don't think you're qualified. But why? Why is that? Is there something in writing that from Peter that says like no to Sheel?
Yeah, I think where people get sometimes confused too is they say, well, hold on, what does Sheel Seidler know about running a baseball team? Well, what does Jon Seidler know? Until you run a baseball team, and also running a baseball team does not mean running baseball operations. Nobody's advocating for Sheel Seidler to be Jerry Jones and make all baseball operations. Nobody's saying she's got to be the one to determine the next superstar contract for the Padres. Like good owners, by and large, put people in place to do their jobs. I don't see what would rule her out specifically from being a chairman. But then again, Jim, I mean, to play devil's advocate or both sides, I mean, what rules Jon Seidler out or Matt Seidler? I don't know.
And I don't know how good of a case Sheel does have. I just, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But I will continue to harp on the fact that how this is going just 3 days in, it ain't going to get any nicer between the two parties.
Right.
And it's only going to get uglier, and it's only going to hurt the public perception of Jon Seidler and Matt Seidler and Robert Seidler. And those are the three guys that right now essentially are running the Padres franchise. Matt's the person who's putting out the statements. And now Jon is the control person. And Robert, I don't know what Robert's doing, but it's weird how Matt, one of the youngest brothers of Peter, is responding to all these claims because obviously he's the one in the lawsuit. Where's Robert at? Where's Jon at?
Dude, I'll be honest with you, I'm confused with the brothers. There's a lot of brothers. There are a lot of siblings. And it is confusing. And Kevin, you'll hear this coming up in a few minutes. I think Kevin admits that although Peter laid this out plain as day for Major League Baseball, which requires a succession plan, the truth is leaving the decision up to a trust isn't exactly as simple as just saying the team belongs to whomever or the next chairman is this person. He left it up to the trust to determine. He almost left the door open for this type of litigation. Mm-hmm. And that could be a downfall here could be that because a chairman was not laid out specifically by Peter, it opened the door for this possible litigation. And if this litigation isn't resolved in a timely manner, this could lead to the sale of the team.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking about. Jon Seidler might be right that he is the next chairman because of what Peter said in the trust. Sheel might have a legitimate claim as well. But if it's arguable via litigation and it doesn't get solved for a long period of time, the organization is the one that suffers.
Yep, and the fans suffer too.
Right, exactly.
The team suffers. Everybody suffers.
All right, we're going to hear from Kevin Acee on the other side. If you missed our far-reaching conversation with Kevin, you'll hear it on the other side. Here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. We'll start with the Aztecs. They take on Air Force tonight at Viejas Arena, 7:30 tip time. 6:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. Baseball news of the day. Former Padres pitcher Martin Perez signed with the Chicago White Sox. And the Padres have made a move, John. The lawsuit's not going to stop their pursuit of a World Series. They have signed Rodolfo Duran to a minor league contract. The catcher had a .282 batting average along with 60 RBIs this past season. Where that was at, I have no idea. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Of course you wouldn't know between AA Northwest Arkansas and AAA Omaha as a Royals farmhand. We did that.
Oh,
I mean, what do you do with your spare time if you don't know about Rodolfo Duran's numbers in AA?
The Padres are going to set a record for most minor league
invitees ever.
Invite contracts in the history of the sport this upcoming season.
All right, this was Kevin Acee yesterday. We started the conversation about Sheel's lawsuit and the brothers' response and what are we supposed to believe and make it make sense.
Including me.
Right.
Yeah.
As a layman. And every once in a while, a sports journalist has to kind of figure all this stuff out or try and then explain it as best he can to the average reader, which is all I am, is average guy who has to pretend to be a lawyer and talk to lawyers and all that. So here goes with that disclaimer. Like, it is clearly he said, she said, or she said, he said. Look, the trust is very clear that the trustee has the right to appoint the control person. Sheel Seidler contends the trust that Matt Seidler should be removed as trustee because of other issues, including what she alleges to be fraud, withholding funds, what is termed fiduciary responsibility, that he and before him, Robert Seidler, two of Peter's brothers, that they did not honor the terms of the trust. So then that would negate actions they've taken, including making Jon Seidler control person. A lot of this lawsuit, and this is not unusual for a lawsuit, a lot of this lawsuit is laying out an argument for the public. And it is that Sheel Seidler should be the control person. That's not necessarily what she's suing for, but she's suing as a part of the suit to negate Jon Seidler being control person. And she is saying she should be control person. She makes the distinction that she is the beneficial owner. That's not the same as being the owner. She, by virtue of the trust, she's the beneficial owner of 25% of the Padres. That could be an important fact, but it's not really now because the trust clearly says Matt Seidler gets to decide who the control person is. So that's where we're at right now.
So it doesn't sound messy at all.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I could have gone on for another 20 minutes, but
Yeah.
Here we are. So
yeah, we all have to become experts on lawsuits and litigation and very quickly, by the way. So behind the scenes, Kevin, with people that aren't involved in this, litigation and lawsuit and ownership, the people in the front office, guys like, I don't know, AJ Preller trying to build a baseball team. Do you know what the mood is, or what is the mood with people in that organization, which, I'm sure they kind of had winds of what was going on recently. I don't know if people were like completely shocked by this, but this offseason, what has been the mood inside that organization?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. The more people are in the know, the more quiet they are. And, others wondering what the heck's going on. Why aren't we doing things? That includes people that are involved, but maybe are not involved at the highest level and don't really know all of this stuff. No one. Well, they say they were, and maybe there was an element of surprise she actually went through with it. This was something that, was rumored. Her fight for this was rumored for, well over a month, if not longer internally. But, it's what prompted me to ask questions and press on who was going to be the control person. And in recent days, you heard that this was coming, and then boom, it came. And so what effect does it have? Look, the Padres haven't done anything. And I think I wrote this yesterday, and I think maybe I alluded to it before, that questions over the control person, that is something agents and other people in Major League Baseball have pointed to as a reason why the Padres haven't done anything. Well, that's okay, maybe. But last year they signed Yuki Matsui. That's all they've done by now. I mean, traded Juan Soto. You can't overlook that. That ended up changing the fortunes of 2024. But in terms of signing, like Yuki Matsui, the some of the biggest contributors on this team, and this has happened in many off seasons, came after February or in February or beyond. So we can't just automatically say that this has slowed down the Padres. Look, they were talking about before the end of the season, and gosh, go back as far as 2021 about how there needed to be a shift in how they spent their money. And they were talking going into this offseason about, look, payroll is going to be higher, but It ain't going to be much higher than last year. And there were a lot of moves that needed to be made. Look, yeah, they're listening on Dylan Cease. They are trying to find options for Luis Arise, perhaps, other people, but they don't have any takers right now. And, they are also waiting next week, likely, find out whether they get Sasaki. And that will have an effect on, okay, now what do they have to do? The trickle-down effect, because their needs are their needs, and one of them is a starting pitcher. So we can't draw a direct line in bold confidently from this situation to their lack of activity.
That's good perspective. Kevin Acee is with us here, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. I think you wrote about it's always a possibility when you have infighting or litigation of a sale, and we've seen sales play out across major professional American sports when something like this plays out. Not always, but it is at times, the end result. Would you consider a sale of the Padres organization to be possible?
Sure. And that's only because of what you said. Broncos, Orioles, portion of the Chargers. These are in the last couple of years based on trust disputes, basically. And, you could definitely say that those disputes, at least in every instance, at least partially led to, and a couple instances absolutely led to the sale of the team. So yeah, sure. And like, I think even people involved would say, yeah, you can't rule that out. It does not seem that is their intention. The why we can't rule it out is because, look, Peter Seidler was not a billionaire, despite what a lot of people think by Googling him. And neither is Sheel Seidler, and neither are any of the Seidler siblings. If this goes to where it's like, hey, this person's in control and I don't want to be a part of this anymore, like at least a portion of the team could be sold.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So we all know the court of public opinion, Kevin, and how fast that court acts. And right now, I'm sure you've seen it, the court of public opinion is firmly on Sheel's side with Padres fans. And for the new group, Jon and Matt, and if this remains status quo and Jon remains the control person and says something, this gets settled or whatever the case may be, I don't know how long this is going to last. But right now, the court of public opinion, they're not on the side of the brothers of Peter Seidler. So
right,
with them being essentially to the fan base now kind of enemy number one, like what kind of uphill battle do they have to gain trust back from this fan base who right now is firmly against them?
I would say quite a big one. I would say winning, investing in the team and winning would basically cure it. That's kind of the way fans are, right? And rightfully so. Every offseason, especially when there hasn't been a lot of moves, there's trepidation. And now you throw this in there and you throw the wife of the beloved owner into the mix, saying that she's been mistreated and she wants to control the team. And people have their ideas of how Peter Seidler ran the team and what he did. Much of that is indisputable. Some of it probably should be looked at a little closer. But the beloved owner, I revered the man myself. His wife is a sympathetic figure. And as I pointed out, I'm not denigrating Sheel Seidler or her representatives in any way. This is what like a lawsuit does a lot of times. It is to the actual complaint, the 50 pages, in this case, 50 pages, but the actual complaint is to like get it on the public record, some things that you want to say. And this one was well done.
Yeah.
Kevin, did Major League Baseball or does Major League Baseball, are you aware, do they require a succession plan for chairman and control? They do, right?
Yes. And Peter had one put out, and I do not know how detailed, like this name, but this person will decide. Peter had to do that when he took over in 2020 from Ron Fowler as the control person. So, and it was his, decision that decision would be made by first Robert, and then if Matt took over, which is the case now, and then Jon, if it came to that, so he had his successor trustees. And so Robert obviously stepped aside, personal decision in May. Matt is now the guy in charge, and that was Peter's wish. Now, you can look. Peter could have been a little more specific. I think everybody would agree with that. And you can rightfully say, what the heck to that, right? But Matt does detail why that is. I wrote about it in my story. He detailed it in his letter, and the Padres have created, I'm not sure exactly who created it, Padres Seidler Trust, whatever. There is a peterseidlertrust.com. The letter is on there. And he details why. That was Peter's style. His way of doing business was entrusting the people that worked for him and with him that earned it with decision-making power. And he, look, that's all consistent with what I know. Peter Seidler never told me Sheel or no Sheel, right? But what I will say, and I'm being careful not only because it's like I'm just an impartial observer, but also maybe I have some further reporting to do. But Peter Seidler entrusting his brothers to make these decisions, and Peter Seidler's brothers being more involved than the public knew, is consistent with my reporting over the last 3 years since Peter took over. So it's not like this is out of the blue. It's out of the blue for a lot of people, but it's just factual is what I can say.
Who does AJ report to at this moment in time?
Eric Katsenda and Eric Grupner, in that order is my understanding, and has been since Peter was ill. But Eric Katsenda is the control person now. As I wrote, the expectation by multiple people is that, and that's multiple league sources, is that by spring training, barring Sheel Seidler getting, I think, what's called a temporary restraining order or an injunction. Again, not a lawyer, in case anybody couldn't tell. But barring her doing not only taking but basically winning a legal action, MLB will still vote on that before spring training, the control people. And I think it's a 3/4 vote. I don't think it's 50%. I think it's just a 3/4 vote. Basically, the owners / control people will vote, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, generally, when someone is put forth, it's a formality.
And Jon is the person that's been put forth, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So my next question to follow that up with is, do you know the relationship between Jon and AJ?
I don't know that there is one, other than that they've obviously spent time together, talked. Jon has been around a lot.
Okay.
I would imagine, based on both my reporting and kind of the way the Seidlers operate, that, and what I've heard about Jon, is they're going to come in and basically try to keep it status quo. A lot of trust in AJ Preller and a lot of trust in Eric Grupner.
My final question, Kevin, would be, what was Sheel's level of involvement with the organization when Peter was living?
Okay, I want to first say that obviously I'm not a part of the organization.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
My reporting, and I think that people knew that I talked with Peter a lot, spent a lot of time with Peter. So my understanding was extremely minimal. So that was my understanding. And it has been not just like from a couple people. That's my eyes, my ears, and talking to several people over the course of years before any of this. So not in like, hey, I need to get some information in the past. I'm talking in real-time information. My understanding was minimal. Now, I'm not making a statement on what Peter's wishes were. I'm not making a statement on what her wishes were or anything like that. I will tell you that from my understanding in many conversations with Peter, his oldest daughter, Sadie, who I believe is 12, is among the biggest Padres fans in the world. Yeah. And that there was I don't want to overstate this. I think there was an expectation that not an expectation, because Peter, I don't believe, would do that to one of his kids. But I was not going to be surprised, let's just put it that way, that Sadie became a part of the Padres organization. I mean, she was the one who traveled. If you remember, in 2022, I believe, and I wrote this at the time, Peter was in at least one city on every road trip, every multi-city road trip, showing up in Pittsburgh here, showing up in Cleveland here, showing up wherever, and Sadie was often with him. Sheel was occasionally with him. That doesn't, again, I'm not making a statement. You asked me a question, I'm giving you my best reporting based on ever since Peter was the control person. And let's remember, he became the control person after the 2020 season. Mm-hmm. That ever since then, that I have talked to people, because I will tell you also in numerous conversations with Peter never Peter both thought nothing was ever going to kill him, right? These health issues, and also was very aware that his health was compromised and that he was not likely, going to live as long as he wanted. Yeah. All right. And so Peter did talk a lot about, to a certain extent, not confiding in me. I won't be called as a witness. I don't have any information here, yeah. But he did talk a lot about this being in his family for a long time. And, and I wrote about this, so I can talk about this. A pointed question I asked him in the last interview he ever gave, and it was over an hour conversation, that would it be Sheel? And he declined to answer it. So that's as far as I know.
Real quick, Kevin, we go about 30 seconds here. From a 1 to 10, 1 being, it's not that big of a deal, to 10 being like this could potentially be franchise changing. It's a massive deal. Where would you rate this news that just came out the last couple of days?
Man, that's such a great question because it has the potential to be a 9 or a 10, right? It does, but I don't know, but it has that potential. It just does. It's not a 1, I'll tell you that. Yeah. But I don't want to be overreacting. I don't want to be, this person that does that. I try very hard to not be that person. I err on that side, but you can't deny it has the potential to be a 9 or a 10.
Kevin, thank you as always. Great reporting. Happy New Year.
Thanks,
we appreciate the time. We know it's busy, and thanks for doing it here.
Right on. And I'll be updating the story very quickly with some response from Sheel Seidler's counsel.
All right.
Awesome. We'll keep a lookout for that. Thank you.
We will. All right. Check that out. SDUT. Thank you, Kevin Acee. All right. So that was yesterday. We didn't get a chance to react. We will on the other side. Then coming up at 3 p.m., much more just on the state of the Padres heading into 2025. Also getting you ready for tonight. Will the Aztecs get a returnee back tonight against the Air Force Academy? Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
Yep.
And then make sure the Jon and Jim that you follow or auto download from, just see the most recent episodes and see if they're from like today and yesterday.
Yeah. You go to the iHeartRadio app, search for Jon and Jim. Should show up for you, or go to our website, sportssd.com, go to podcast links, Jon and Jim. It'll take you right to the podcast page that we have now.
Behind the scenes there, like if you wouldn't mind doing that for us, we had a podcast for literally years because Jon and Jim's been on the air as of Friday, 3 years. So our
it's our
3-year
anniversary?
anniversary is Friday. So we had a podcast link for, let's say, 33 months. And then they did like a relaunch. I don't know if it was part of the new app, whatever the reason being. They relaunched it and put it in a new location. Basically, we had to start over with the podcast. So if you wouldn't mind right now, like maybe you're listening to us, maybe you're at a desk, if you're not driving, if you could open up the iHeartRadio app and then search for Jon and Jim and give us a follow in the all-new app.
Please follow us.
Please follow us, because I think a lot of you were following us and then they relaunched it, and like now you got to refollow us is the point.
Yeah. Some people don't like to change.
No, I'm included.
It's like I was doing this forever and now I got to go somewhere else.
But you might not have been receiving recent episodes.
Correct.
Like for the last 2 months.
Right. And that's
so
the problem.
If you're wondering why you haven't seen us, like where you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, just search for Jon and Jim. We're there. Click on it and we are there for you.
Or check out the YouTube channel as well, Jon and Jim.
Yes.
On YouTube. All of our shows are there. Audio notwithstanding. But we're there nonetheless.
Right. The dream scenario is you can listen to us live on the iHeartRadio app and the audio is always perfect.
Yes.
Or on San Diego Sports 760.
Correct.
There will be a
ways.
day on this planet we call Earth.
No, there won't.
When the audio works always on YouTube. No?
What day is that? When the sun blows up?
It's in the future. It's in the future.
Okay.
All right. We'll react to Kevin Acee. What are the most stressed out franchises in Major League Baseball?
I'm stressed.
I am too. Will Farrell Compton play tonight? The freshman phenom for San Diego State. We'll get you ready for that game. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. Hour 2, Jon and Jim next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. We'll start with the Aztecs. They take on Air Force tonight at Viejas Arena. 7:30 tip time. 6:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. And baseball news of the day. Martin Perez, former Padres pitcher, signed with the Chicago White Sox. Padres did make a move today, John. Did you know this? They signed catcher Rodolfo Duran to a minor league contract. Yay. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 2 of Jon and Jim. JB Long from Los Angeles, voice of the Rams. Will they play Monday night? The NFL is monitoring. NBA is monitoring tomorrow's Lakers game downtown against the Hornets, I believe. A Kings game has been postponed. We'll hopefully get into some football with JB as well. Voice of the Rams, huge one Monday night, wild card round, the Rams-Vikings from Inglewood. We also have Aztec tickets to give away for next Tuesday night against Colorado State. We'll get into tonight what's at stake for San Diego State. They're hosting Air Force at 7:30. Our pregame coverage is going to begin at 6:30. We have this list of most stressed out fan bases, but we haven't yet reacted to our conversation with Kevin. I mean, we did for like 2 minutes yesterday, and then we didn't today. Is there any primary takeaway from what Kevin told us? I listened back to it last night because I posted it again on YouTube.
Me too. What was your takeaway?
My takeaway is, after listening to that, I understand the sentiment of the fan base being solely in Sheel Seidler's corner.
By the way, she's posting a lot on Instagram right now. People on Instagram saying Team Sheel. Like she's posting a lot. She's also
like reposting
okay, on her Instagram page. And she also has in her bios, as I said yesterday, in both her X profile and her Instagram profile, owner of the Padres.
Which is interesting. And that's what she's alleging. And that's what she's claiming that she should have the right to be. I guess my takeaway from Kevin was like, it's not as simple as the lawsuit nor the response. It's basically based on his experiences with the organization over a period of years. And according to Kevin, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to speak for him, but you just heard it. You know, the organization had a plan, and it wasn't necessarily to have Sheel in control after Peter. I mean, I'm putting some words in his mouth there, maybe. But, like, it's not like the plan, according to Kevin, was for Sheel Seidler to run the organization after the passing of Peter.
Right. So then my question would be, if that is ironclad written in documents.
Not that it was ironclad. He's just saying he didn't feel it. I hate to, you have to listen to the interview. I don't want to speak for Kevin. But the idea that Sheel wasn't like, it's not like every day he was around the organization, it was being run by both Sheel and Peter Seidler.
Look, I have to believe that, you know, Sheel wouldn't do this just to gain the popularity of the public.
Oh, I agree with that.
Like I don't think that at all. I don't think that.
No, I think she wants to control the team.
And I think she has a case. I think that she believes and she feels that his brothers, Peter's brothers, A, should not be in charge, and B, because they're in charge, are doing an awful job of living up to the legacy of Peter and the wishes of what Peter would want for this franchise going forward on the field. And that if they continue, then his legacy will be not tarnished, but kind of, just because, like, yeah, Seidler will be in charge and a Seidler's name will be attached to the control person and owner of the team. But that don't mean anything unless you back up your words and live up to the legacy that you talk so much about with Peter Seidler.
This is a classic example of people digging in. Happens all the time. Business, sports, life. I mean, you dig in on a side and you either come to a compromise or not. I don't think the lawsuit screamed, let's compromise. I think it was Sheel laying out a case, and I do think she's got the court of public opinion on her side. And I think the brothers' response has been pretty strong. there's definitely a scenario where there's a resolution. I just don't know how long that takes to play out, and then what the ultimate end game is there. Like, is it still, Jon Seidler running the team and maybe Sheel Seidler somehow involved? I fear what Peter didn't want, which would be the sale of the club. Peter did not want the sale of the club.
Whatever Peter wanted, that should happen. And at this moment in time, I don't fully know
Nobody
that.
wanted, yeah.
But however they can figure that out, or however it can be discovered for whatever Peter wanted, that needs to happen. And if it's Sheel, his widow, then it's got to be Sheel. If it's his brothers, and that is proven in a court of law through documents, then it's going to be his brothers. But I will say this, the more this goes on, and it's only, 3 days in?
Day 3.
We're day 3.
Right.
Eventually, this could be day 642.
Yeah. And it won't be as front of mind.
No,
on day
it won't.
642.
Like when news drops, then it will be discussed. But pretty soon here, once the Roki stuff gets decided, it's now baseball season.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Padres have to make moves still, and they have to field a 26-man roster. So like soon, this will be off in the corner. It will be the giant elephant in the room, but it will be off in the corner because baseball season will begin. The more this goes on, selling the team might be the way to go. Honestly, do I want that? Not particularly, but I also think, look, drama inside of an organization in the front office is one thing. You can just fire people. Drama in the organization with an ownership group, you can't fire an owner. You can't, that is going to be, fought to the very end. So selling the team to get rid of this drama and put this franchise back on course to winning the championship might be the best course of action in the end. I don't know that. I just think that a sale is give me a percentage chance. Do you think this team gets sold right now?
I mean, I have no idea.
Higher or lower than 20% at this moment in time?
I mean, it's probably a real possibility, but under 50% would be my guess.
I think so too, but I don't think it's 1%.
No, it's not. But here's the other thing. Let's say the team was sold. You know how long that takes? A quick sale's 2 years.
Yep. Takes a long time.
So okay, that might be a lot shorter than a 5-year lawsuit or a 7-year lawsuit, like the Denver Broncos situation. Some of these play out for a decade. So I don't think any of the situations are good.
No.
I don't think any of the scenarios really are positive ones. And I do think it will directly impact Padres fans and the club. I hate to say it that bluntly. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's impossible that they win at a high level, but it seems to get in the way with winning. To me, it seems to do that. Now, their actions have already gotten in the way of winning based on everything we've said all offseason, which is we're waiting. You now add this in, and it just seems like a deterrent to the end goal. The end goal being winning a World Series. Yeah. So, I think Padres have. The issue is this time of year, you want to be hopeful. It's the start of the year. Should be optimistic.
They're really hopeful right now.
No, there's not a lot of reasons for optimism. I think Roki Sasaki can change that.
Can change a lot of that.
I think a sale absolutely opens up the possibility of, wow, what's the other side going to look like?
Yeah, because the sale guys, this organization has gone through a lot of awful owners. They've gone through sales before. They as recently as Peter and Ron, right?
Yeah.
So this ain't something new. It's not like the team's been owned by one singular person for the last 50 years.
True.
So it happened. So I don't think the sale of the franchise is a bad thing. I really don't. Now, depends on who that person that came in here to buy the team is. That's tricky because you got to get the right person, and they have to pick the right person. And I know that the Seidler name attached to the Padres franchise is something that I think is very well documented. He wanted the Padres to be owned and controlled by Seidler basically almost forever, or at least as long as
generations.
But that's okay if the person that's in charge with the Seidler last name is doing right by the Padres and the fans and your legacy. And if that ain't happening, then we got a problem.
There's an interesting comment here in the chat that says, what does it say? Oh, if Peter did not name Sheel as a trustee, I want to see the same quote unquote respect Peter's wishes energy in this chat. So that's an interesting take. Who are the trustees?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking.
Well, according to Matt, it was the brothers. It was Robert, Matt,
and Jon. And that was laid out obviously by Peter.
Then Robert, he, as far as like making decisions go, stepped away and gave that to Matt. So Matt's kind of the guy now, and they put in Jon as the control person.
I mean, the point, there is something there. Just hear me out for a second. This brilliant individual, Peter Seidler, that obviously had power and influence and was able to purchase a club and ultimately become chairperson of the club. Couldn't he have just made Sheel a trustee? Why what? And I don't know enough about this as of yet. Why wasn't Sheel a trustee immediately? Like, as in, let's say Sheel was a trustee along with three brothers. Well, she would only be one quarter of the votes. She still couldn't be chairman automatically. If it was Sheel and three brothers and they are trustees.
We can't have four because you need a majority vote.
That's what I'm saying. But why isn't she even is she a trustee?
I don't believe she is. According to Matt.
And then my question is maybe why? If Peter wanted her to be a trustee, why wouldn't she just be a trustee? That doesn't mean she'd be chairman.
Right.
To your point, if she was one of four, well, she could still lose the vote. But at least then it's kind of fair and square. Well, you're one of four trustees. Well, you don't have the voting power.
Well, wouldn't you want it to have like an odd number? Because if you have four,
but who cares? So let's say there's five. Let's say it doesn't even matter.
Right. Yeah.
Or let's say there's three. Let's say it was Jon and Bob and Sheel. Mm-hmm. She still wouldn't have an automatic majority, but at least she would be heard.
Correct.
As one of these trustees.
And she's claiming she's not.
Is she claiming that she should be one of these trustees, essentially?
Yeah.
She should be. It's a little convoluted. It is confusing. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was made more confounding and confusing by Peter himself. Kevin said that yesterday. Yeah. That ultimately Peter's wishes were the trust would determine it, not Peter, but the will of the trust.
Right. And that he did not want to put a person and say, like, if this were to happen, this person's in charge. He want the trustees to choose that person to be the control person of this franchise. The
truth is, it's hard to be open-minded with this. I read that lawsuit and I'm all on board with most Padres fans saying Sheel Seidler has a real legitimate claim and right. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things in here that are concerning in terms of what she's alleging. But there's also another side to the story that I don't fully know. That's all I would say. Like, it's very easy to get caught up in the immediacy of the story. It's like when we hear about a big news story. Oh my gosh, can you believe? But that's not always the entirety of the story is what I would say. So yes, I am a proponent of Sheel Seidler having a significant role if she is owed that legally.
Yep.
But I can't say right this moment that everything she's saying is 100% accurate and everything that the brothers are saying is inaccurate. And so I'm like, I'm not trying to ride a fence. I am a proponent of Sheel Seidler having her day in court. And if she is the rightful owner of the team, then she's the rightful owner of the team.
Yeah, because what she is accusing, if found out to be true, with selling stakes in the franchise lower than market value,
diluting
shares and things of this nature, that's a big problem.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's a big problem. It's more of a problem than who's the control person.
Yeah.
Because you got that happening behind the scenes. Oh, then it's 100% sell this puppy now.
I think at the end of the day, and it's not the strongest of opinions, and we can talk about it more on the other side, these stressed out fan bases. Maybe what I'm trying to say is, like, yeah, you always have to be careful in situations like this. It's like, you got to be careful not to rush through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to have an opinion on it day one, but like to rush to the judgment overall, I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. All right, more on that. The most stressed out fan bases in Major League Baseball plus JB Long, voice of the Rams, coming up. All right, back with you, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 7 at 6. JV Long, voice of the Rams, will join us in 10 minutes. Is there an audio engineer listening?
No,
He's not, honestly, because I want to take people behind the scenes, because it only impacts the people that are on YouTube. But to our listeners, we've been on YouTube for like 18 months. And sometimes the audio is crystal clear. Other times it sounds like we're underwater, right? And so on and so forth. And it's pretty unpredictable. There has to be a solution, Jim.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a world.
I got an idea. There's an audio card that's crap back there. We got computers from the 1900s. That's the problem. There you go.
But if it's as simple as an audio card, Jim, I would go to Amazon.com and buy the audio.
You want to spend the money?
I have no problem buying an audio card. I don't know how to put it in. That's why I'm asking for an audio engineer.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Well, we have engineers that work in the building, but I'm serious. I would buy the audio card with my own money. I don't think an audio card costs that much money.
I don't know.
Right? Audio card.
It's not my job.
Audio card for PC.
This is great radio.
$50.
Do it. Be a man.
But I don't know what to buy is my point. And I don't know how to install it. And I don't know what it's going to do. You're convinced that it's an audio card.
Oh, perfect. James builds computers. Builds another
good.
Builds
Thank you.
computer.
Then that's my point. The reason I'm asking, I would invite one of our listeners or viewers, someone on the pod. You can come here. I'll meet them well before the show.
Yeah, well,
they can. I don't know if that's kosher, so to speak, or legal for them to open up the computer. But here's the deal. Then I'm not going to keep streaming this thing on YouTube. Buck stops with me. I will hit end stream. I am not going to do this open-ended for forever and have these issues every single day. Mark my words.
Okay.
I'm serious.
I know.
But we can't open up the computer.
I don't know.
Well, then we can't stream.
Okay. Well, we have a show to do on the radio, so let's just do the show.
No.
Okay.
You want to know the most stressed out person in radio?
It's
me.
I'm stressed. I'm stressed.
How can you be an audio?
Go do it. Say it. Okay. Go ahead. I'll turn the mic off.
I'm just saying, like, there has to be a solution. Is all I'm saying. We landed on the moon. Not me and you. But how do you get to the moon 60 years ago and have audio issues on YouTube?
Because those computers are from when the moon landing happened.
Well, great.
Before the moon landing happened.
But I could hear them on the moon. One small step for man. That wasn't all bumbled up. It was like, what'd he say?
It's like one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
No, it was like, you never heard
giant leap for
Who are the most stressed out fan bases in baseball? I'm the most stressed out radio host in radio.
That is correct, John. This was like one of those emails this morning that I feel like was sent to just like a corporate email to everybody. It was really weird. But a team at Vegas Insider analyzed every team in Major League Baseball across 7 stress factors. These included the number of games lost in the 2024 season, average attendance, online positive/negative sentiment, and the year of their last World Series win. All right. With all that,
it's been a while for some of these teams. Yeah.
The Padres were found to have the 9th most stressed fan base with a total score of 49.16. Some of the top stats from the Padres this past year, John. The Padres fans endured 69 losses. How you doing? In 2024. The team are one of 5 who never won a World Series title. And the Padres, I found this to be the most interesting. The Padres had 152,900 negative mentions online. In fact, a whopping 43% of all online comments were negative.
Is that it?
Showing that their fans are often unhappy with performances. I thought that was the most funny part of this whole thing.
And this is before the lawsuit.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Yeah. Here are the top teams, top 10 list here. Okay. Coming in at number 10 is the New York Mets.
Okay. Makes sense.
It's New
It's
York.
It's a mess. Second franchise.
Number 9 is the Padres.
Only number 9.
Only number 9.
Okay.
Number 8 is the Detroit Tigers.
Okay.
Number 7 is the Pirates.
Okay.
Number 6 is the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5 is fascinating. We have the Marlins at 5th. We have the A's at 4th.
These teams don't have fans.
We have the Rays at 3rd. We have the White Sox at 2nd. And we have your Colorado Rockies at number 1.
This is just a list. Those top 5 are just like the worst franchises. Like
Correct,
when you say Rockies and Marlins.
That's why they're so stressed out.
Yeah, because they're so bad.
So
What do Dodger fans have to be stressed about?
nothing. So it says here that the White Sox, who are number 2 on this list, had 112,000 negative mentions online. The Rays, who are number 3 on the list, had only 89,000 negative mentions online. It does not say how many negative mentions the Rockies had, but I go back to the Padres. They won 93 games last year. They had 152,000, almost 153,000 negative comments online, according to this research.
I say that shows a pretty passionate fan base. I can't believe there's like 100,000 negative comments on the Marlins because I've never seen them ever.
No, the White Sox, John.
But didn't you say Marlins or Rays?
They're
The
the
Rockies?
Top, yeah, the top 5 is the Marlins, A's, Rays, White Sox.
I've never seen any negative comment on the Marlins.
Who do you think attributed most negative comments for the Padres last year? Like in the 153,000.
Well, you're like 82K of them.
I'm a lot.
All right, JB Long, voice of the Rams. We can react to that coming up. We're getting you ready for San Diego State basketball tonight as well. Stay with us.
This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. We'll start with the Aztecs. They take on Air Force tonight at Viejas Arena, 7:30 tip time when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. The baseball news of the day, former Padres pitcher Martin Perez signed with the Chicago White Sox. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
So a situation well beyond football. Obviously, these fires that are raging throughout Southern California, specifically in LA County, and we always are pleased to be joined by the voice of the Rams, JB Long. And it should be obviously extended time for the Rams back to the season, hosting the playoff game supposedly Monday night at 5 p.m. right here in San Diego, 7:60 against the Minnesota Vikings. But first of all, JB, hope you and your family are all right, and think about everyone in Los Angeles. What is going on right now as these teams prepare for Monday night? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for joining the invitation. Extremely grateful for the extra day for the Rams being 4-5 matchup against the Vikings on Monday night. We have all these conversations, as I'm sure you're having on your show, with the proper context of what a privilege it is to take a momentary detour from the tragedies that are happening all around us and the whole playoff. We have some friends that have just played to run their way over to us for hopefully that field and the reality that I'm sure a lot of people preparing for this game, either to coach it, play in it, attend it, or dealing with. And unfortunately, it's not unprecedented. I remember the greatest Monday Night Football game of all time from the 2018 season between the Chiefs and the Rams was supposed to be played in Mexico City, but great back to some of the tragic, some of the involving fires led the Rams back to the Coliseum to play that game. Drew a lot of inspiration from it. And I'm not trying to draw a competitive parallel from that year to this one, but at least the Rams organizationally has been through this before.
Yeah, I mean, all of our thoughts are with everyone in LA. Fires are, natural disasters. It's a horrible sight to see. We're glad to hear that everything is good with you, JB. No easy transition to the game on Monday night. But you look at this matchup against the Vikings. Vikings won 14 games. It's probably I think it's the first time in history that a 5 seed has won 14 games, and they're the road team in playoffs, series here. How do you like this matchup going forward with the Rams against the Vikings?
Well, I'm fascinated by it. I wouldn't say I like it in terms of necessarily the Rams' competitive chances. I do think that they should have every reason to believe they can take their swing and win it like they did back in Week 8. But so much has changed since then. I think both teams have thankfully gotten healthier for the most part at some key positions. Shy of that loss in Detroit in Week 18, Sam Darnold and the Vikings really found their finest form on offense. I think it's a real testament to Kevin O'Connell, who, for your audience, I would vote for Coach of the Year in the National Football League, to take a quarterback basically off the scrap heap and turn him into a Pro Bowl in Sam Darnold, surround him with some really great circumstances, great scheme, coach him up, produce amazing results, and their defense is top 5 in the league. So it's a tall test, but I kind of shape it up this way. I think the Rams' best is good enough to beat the Vikings for a second time this season, and there's no question that Minnesota's best, with 14 wins, a plus 100 scoring margin, is good enough to beat any team, I think, in the playoff field.
To go back a brief moment again on the situation surrounding this game, and JB Long is the voice of the Rams. Will the NFL need to make a determination at some point? And what factor does this looming situation have on preparations, if that makes is this impacting the Rams as they prepare? Because obviously their players are living in the LA area. Is everything status quo with preparation and practice leading up to this?
Well, what I've learned about the National Football League in my years covering the sport and working within it is they are kings of contingency, right? Like, I'm sure they're thinking of a whole bunch of different scenarios, hopefully none of which play out. I'm not privy to what those are. And thankfully, that extra day will prove, I believe, in the end to be a blessing for everyone involved. Just to give you an example, so the Rams and Vikings both played Sunday. They find out their assignment. The Rams, I believe, got in the facility, got treatment Monday, had some meetings and a lift yesterday. Today would be their normal Tuesday off day, push back a day to Wednesday. So far, the wind and fire has not affected their practice facility. If these winds do indeed die down, hopefully they're able to do their walkthrough and practice tomorrow. I'm not naive enough, Jon and Jim, to say with any confidence that the worst of this is behind us, right? Because I know there's still a lot of battles to be waged here. But hopefully improving conditions give the firefighters and everyone involved at least their best chance to start to achieve some semblance of containment. And football is way, 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 way down the list of priorities in terms of getting back on our feet.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we were talking about at the start of the show, JB, football and sports, like at the end of the day, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but there's way more important things than a winner and a loser of a game. But life goes on and sports goes on, and, getting to Monday night and looking at the Rams season here, JB, for you, what was their turning point of the season?
Well, I think it was probably having the earliest bye of the Sean McVay era. It was back in week 6, coincidentally the same bye that the Minnesota Vikings had. But I'm not sure that the Rams stay afloat if they had to play a game in week 6. They were just in such a bad way from a roster management injury standpoint. That deep breath in October and then back-to-back home games, winning Sunday and Thursday against these Vikings, was the inflection point. It was rocket fuel. Getting Cooper Kupp and a surprise activation of Puka Nacua on that Thursday night to face the Vikings started to put things back in order. Those are two really big pieces that I mentioned. Getting the offensive line reassembled in front of Matthew Stafford allowed him to play some of his better football of the season. So I think it's been a total turnaround from 1-4. That's easy to say just looking down the schedule, but if you kind of peek inside the hood, it was a matter of not just getting healthy, but I think restoring their confidence, because with the hand they were dealt starting in training camp all the way through the first month of the season, not only was there, reason to be rattled, but that trade deadline was fast approaching. And given the age of this roster and some of the investments they've made on it, you probably heard some of the rumors that were circulating about what would the Rams do if they didn't really feel like they could be contenders.
JB Long is with us. Now, I know they sat starters week 18, and I know the defense has been really good, but is there any concern with the offense in the late, last few weeks of the year? They weren't really scoring at a high level. I think week 18, maybe you take it out, but the 2 weeks prior to that, what do they score? They haven't scored 20 points in their last 3 games. Is that at all a concern heading in?
I think it's a totally valid concern. The symmetry is pretty staggering when you consider they put up 44 points and beat maybe the best team in the National Football League, the Buffalo Bills, and then they scored 44 points combined in their next 3 games, all of them wins before resting starters in week 18. There's all sorts of factors there. It was heavily raining in San Francisco. It was sub-freezing in New York. At the end of the day, those are all excuses. And if you look at what Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and some others have done in that 3-game stretch, it's not pretty, especially when you're preparing to face a Minnesota Vikings team that has a claim to being among, if not the best offensive teams in the sport. That being said, with a week to regroup and extra days to set your sights on this opportunity, I just have so much confidence in Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and others within this organization to put their best foot forward. When he gets that look of that eye, I'm talking about Matthew Stafford, when he gets that soul-snatching look in his eye, he's one of the 5 best throwers of the football on the planet. And I believe that's still in him, and I believe that's a possibility for Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this offense with Puka and Cooper and Stafford and Kyren Williams, like you would think this could be a high-power offense. Cooper Kupp has not had the best year, under 800 yards receiving. At times, he kind of is MIA. Why is that? Why has that happened this season with Cooper, who was seemingly, like almost the MVP a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think the easy thing is to say, oh, he's on the wrong side of 30. Father Time comes for us all. I think a more nuanced answer is, well, wait a second, like go back and look at what he did week 1 in Detroit when the whole thing was riding on his shoulders. Go back and look at, that return to performance from week 8 against these Vikings until this 3-game slump. Like he was among the most targeted and most productive receivers in the league. So he either aged and then found the fountain of youth and then aged and found the fountain of youth and has aged again, or there's other things going on. And I would say the most recent example was against the Cardinals, the clinching win in week 17 for the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford was just so sped up because he was missing his right tackle, Rob Havenstein, and the protection was so porous, unfortunately, that he missed open Cooper Kupp on multiple occasions. So what we love about football is it's all stitched together. The design, the execution, the protection, the throws, the route running. And unfortunately, it just hasn't all aligned for Kupp recently, but I'm not ready. I see this through Rams colored lenses, of course. I'm not ready to say that he's not capable of having another vintage Cooper Kupp performance under the primetime lights on Monday.
What do you make? I mean, this gets talked about all the time in college football, like schedule and how could this team be seated here? They don't deserve that. And then you see in the NFL, you have a 14-3 team on the road. Again, from a Rams perspective, it's beneficial. They win the division. They're hosting the Vikings. What do you make of the format and really the lack of complaining that goes on in the National Football League and the format right now in college football and how much complaining there is over where teams are seated and how appropriate or not appropriate it is?
I mean, not to get too deep in the weeds, but I think this is exactly why college football needs a Roger Goodell to tamp down some of that, year-to-year turbulence that causes people to complain and completely pivot and make bad decisions, right? Like ownership in the National Football League is such and the commissioner is such that you can have an upset Minnesota Vikings 14-win team. Not to say tough luck, but like them's the breaks. These are the rules we operate in, and we all signed up for this because if you win your division, you want the guaranteed opportunity and revenue and everything else that comes with hosting a playoff game. That's why we have 4-team divisions. I'll say this with respect to the game on Monday night, for the Rams audience, which has to take so much grief when the Green Bay Packers and other fan bases can schedule their whole fall around traveling to LA and SoFi Stadium, it looks like LA is really going to have a home field advantage on Monday night. And so I think from our perspective, speaking from the Rams out, it's, if it feels unfair, good. Make sure it really looks unfair on Monday night and that the Vikings have even more to complain about because you've got 90 to 95% of the seats filled and they go home unhappy.
So well said. JB, we appreciate it. We're hoping to hear your call right here on San Diego Sports 760 Monday night at 5 p.m. We're thinking about you and everyone impacted in Los Angeles County, and we appreciate you taking time for us.
You guys are the best. Have a good rest of your show.
All right, JB Long, voice of the Rams. All right, there's a lot to react to. We've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We're going to talk about tonight. Will Farrell Compton play? What's on the line for San Diego State? Plus, we'll give away tickets for Tuesday night. That's next. Stay with us, Jon and Jim. All right, some people have been hitting us up on the talkback mic this week. We played some of your talkbacks, I think Monday, maybe Tuesday as well. How does this play out with the Padres? If you just want to weigh in for 30 seconds, if you have something on your mind, you can do it on the talkback mic. And you can do it by opening the free iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, tap the microphone icon, and leave a 30-second talkback. So if you have anything you want to share related to the Padres, you can do it. We are here until 6. In the next 5 minutes, do not go anywhere. In the next 5 minutes, we'll give away Aztec tickets for Tuesday night. Let's talk about tonight for the Aztecs. Back home with the Viejas at 7:30. Pregame coverage at 6:30. Air Force is here. Aztecs are huge favorites, and they need to win this game. And Pharaoh Compton, reported by John Rothstein, who covers the sport nationally, is available. Now, he missed Saturday. Aztecs win. So would you expect to see a lot of Pharaoh as a heavy home favorite tonight before a quick turnaround for New Mexico Saturday?
No.
Nor would I don't think.
I would not. I would expect
With
to
10
see
minutes or
him
less
on a minute restriction.
Okay.
And especially if this game turns into a blowout for the Aztecs, probably not going to see much of Pharaoh. Like, go get a sweat, run up and down the court, play a couple minutes in bursts, because we need you for Saturday on the road against New Mexico. Like, that's most important. It's one of those nights that I'm glad they have a game tonight, because they can get him out there and get him a couple minutes and make sure the ankle's okay, and then you're ready to go and not like completely rusty for Saturday morning, I guess.
Yeah, it is Saturday morning.
Yeah.
At 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. local in Albuquerque. Why is tonight a must-win? Because you cannot lose to a team that is 289th in the net.
Ooh, yucky.
Now, the one, you know me, I'll find a concern with any game.
Of course you will.
The one concern is they play a lot of matchup zone.
Okay,
because they're not going to play as much man because they're going to be undersized. They're not as athletic. So they play a lot of matchup zone. And a lot of their success is going to be predicated on three-point shooting as well. Can they stay in a game by hitting a couple of more threes than they typically do? I mean, San Diego State's something like a 22, 23-point favorite tonight. I think Ken Pom has it as a 23-point margin, but that's sometimes hard to do when you play methodically on offense, like San Diego State uses the shot clock. Air Force does the same thing. They play the Princeton style. They pass the ball 8 times before shooting. So when you don't have a lot of possessions, it's hard to create 23 points of separation. But Boise last week, as good of a win as it was not a must win, because Boise's good, as stupid as that sounds. Air Force, because of the metrics, is a must win because of where they are in the metrics.
But because they lost to Utah State, what did we say? They got
to beat Boise.
They got to beat Boise. They got to pick off a good team on the road to kind of like negate their home loss against Utah State. Still doesn't help. Like, losing to Utah State doesn't help. And if Utah State does well, then that's, better for the Aztecs this year.
Mm-hmm.
But you needed to have a win like you did against Boise on the road Saturday after that loss against Utah State.
You really did. If you look at the standings, like the Aztecs are 2-1 in the Mountain West. There are multiple 5-0 teams.
I think
like
New Mexico's one of them.
New Mexico and Utah State are both 5-0. New Mexico was kind of left for dead yesterday in Wyoming. They trailed by 14 points at the half, 32-18. They had 5 field goals.
What?
They won the game. So they came back to win that game at Wyoming. And there's other teams like 4-1 right now in the league. I think Boise State's 4-1. And the Aztecs have only played 3 games, so they have opportunities still. But even you look ahead to Saturday, let's say you win today, you're 3-1, and then you go to the pit, and let's say you don't win that game, well, you're 3-2, and there's multiple 5-0 teams, we just said. You'd already be a couple of games back in the loss column. So the pressure's already on. I still think the margin isn't overly significant. Right now, if the season ended, Aztecs are in the NCAA tournament. There's no question. But you're only one not great result away from putting yourself in a position where, I don't know, it's more in the hands of the selection committee, so to speak.
Yep, and that's the like landmines that this team faces this year more than anything, because the Mountain West Conference isn't as good, not even close to as good as it was last year. Like, you're not getting 5 teams in.
And they got 6 last year.
Yeah, you're not getting that. You're getting 2 tops, I think. Maybe 3.
You're getting 2.
But 2, I think. If the Aztecs, like
Utah State,
depending on what the Aztecs do in the regular season, say they don't win the Mountain West Conference regular season, okay, but they do reach the Mountain West Conference title game.
Right.
It's not a must-win game, in my opinion, for them to make the tournament. And then the winner of that game, if the Aztecs were to lose to whoever, then obviously automatic bid. There's your two
They're in.
teams.
Well, but then what if that team isn't Utah State? What if Boise State beats San Diego State, and now, depending on San Diego State's resume, they're still in, and then Utah State.
Months and months to go.
But that's why I'm saying we can't yet say it's a max of 2 teams.
Right.
Because if Boise State beats San Diego State and Utah State has a really good year, but I agree with the point that it's not as good as last year, and 6 from a season ago, I would say the max would be more in the neighborhood of 3. Well, and that's a big drop from 6.
Bottom line is I really like this team. I do. When they're healthy, it's going to be fun to watch. And if you can get Reese Waters back healthy, that will be fun.
Did you hear or did you see the image? I mean, he's out of a boot,
which is a good sign.
But how much time is it going to take to go from out of a boot to clear to play? And I think if it's anything more than a couple of weeks, if it's anything more than a couple of weeks, are you really coming back? Like all of a sudden, if you look up, it's February 11th. Are you coming back if you're Reese Waters? Because you're burning away your last year of eligibility, which might be fine. But I feel like you kind of have to come back in January
to have like a real impact and like really get your feet underneath you
and to feel good about your decision.
True.
Because if you came back, it's like March 1st, you're coming back for like 5 games.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think he could come back before March 1st. But yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about that. What would the impact be of getting a healthy Reese Waters back?
Well, it wouldn't be a negative impact.
No, I think it could be a significant impact.
Yeah.
Positively for the Aztecs, who have the Air Force Academy tonight. Hope to see you out there. 7:30 p.m. Viejas Arena. I promised you tickets for Tuesday night against Colorado State. Who wants to see the Aztecs at Viejas Arena next Tuesday night? Tickets at goaztecs.com. Call right now. Caller 7, you're going. 877-767-4760. This is next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. 877-767-4760. Caller 7, you are going. 8 o'clock next Tuesday night. Tickets at goaztecs.com. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. We're here until 6, Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. Aztecs take on Air Force tonight at Viejas Arena, 7:30 tip time. 6:30 is when the pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In baseball news of the day, Martin Perez, former Padres pitcher, signed a major league contract with the Chicago White Sox. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We are here until 6 p.m. If you missed JB Long, voice of the Rams, and everything going on in Los Angeles, you'll hear that coming up at 5:30. We also have more Aztec tickets to give away. We'll do that later this hour with Trainwreck Radio. Here until 6, pregame coverage for San Diego State is going to be at 6:30. Aztecs and the Air Force Academy, pregame coverage at 6:30. Again, tip-off is at 7:30 here tonight. How are you, Jim?
I'm good, John. How are you doing? Have you calmed down a little bit? No?
Yeah, I'm calm. I'm always calm.
When you get riled up, you get riled up.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a passionate person.
When I get riled up, I get riled up.
Very riled
and you're
up.
like,
I'm like,
calm
shut
down,
up,
idiot.
Such
And
an
you
idiot.
start laughing at me.
Right.
You, on the other hand, I gotta like stay away.
You do.
I'm like, oh,
All right.
oh boy.
So stay away. Let's.
When you go into I don't give an F mode, it's my
No,
favorite.
I
John.
do care. That's the problem.
No, you do. But I'm just saying, like in general, when you just don't give a F, it's pretty funny.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So here until 6, Trainwreck Radio later this hour. Right now, let's get to this. Unleash the fury!
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Did the Padres miss out on Justin Verlander? Really?
So he signed a 1-year, $15 million deal with the Giants. I have no clue what Verlander has left, but $15 million for a 2-year-old?
Yep.
Kind of wild. Because especially coming off of a year where he had a 5.3 ERA. So, I mean, no. Now, Verlander shows up and he starts pitching like his Cy Young year 2 years ago, and then you got a problem. You're a Padres fan.
Right.
But I think I know they didn't miss out. Not for that. Not for 15. No. Do they even have $15 million to spend? And by the way, they're not doing any moves right now.
Yeah, I don't think they missed out specifically on Verlander, but they might be missing out on starting pitching if they don't land Roki Sasaki. Because I just don't know where they're turning, and it might be via trade or some real flyer type deal. And when you go a flyer type deal beyond a 42-year-old and Justin Verlander, like you're going to be grasping a little bit and hoping.
I can't wait until the Padres make a move, because then it will show me like what's going, like we already know what's
the
going
direction.
on. Yeah, like if they make a signing for a pitcher or a catcher or whatever for like a 1-year, $6 million deal, you're like, ugh.
That seems high.
Well, I'm just throwing out a random number there. But if they do sign Profar back for 3 years, $45 million, I'd be like, okay.
I mean, I would advise this, considering the discontent with the fans. The next move should be significant. It doesn't have to be Roki, but your next move should be your real move. If you've got one ace, then sign Jurickson Profar.
I mean, trading Dylan Cease?
No, I think land something of significance. It's not going to be Corbin Burns, but even 3 years, $39 million for someone like Jurickson Profar, maybe that's too low. Like give us your best card next, not like your 1 year, $2.1 million deal for your backup catcher.
Yeah, your actions speak louder than your words. In the last 2 years, all they've done is slash payroll.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard to believe that that's what Peter wanted. So you better soon do something so this fan base can look at the shiny object and instead of focusing on right now the complete dysfunction between the Seidler brothers and Sheel.
Yeah. Next question.
Who is the worst franchise in the NFL?
Worst franchise in the NFL.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of good answers. I'm going to go with. It's hard to not say. You know what? I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, they're a bad one.
I'm going to go with the Raiders because with Mark Davis in charge, I know Woody Johnson's an awful owner. I know John Mara's an awful, owner, but Giants have won a Super Bowl, right, in the last 2 decades. Jets haven't done jack,
right.
You know what? But the Raiders are always they're just always bad. They're always bad. If you look at their record over the last 15 years, it's insane how bad it is. Since they made the Super Bowl here in San Diego, they've had what? 2 winning seasons?
It's been a while too, since the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
20 plus years. There's so many great options. I'm stuck right now between the Jets and the Jaguars. In the here and now, I think is the Jets. All time, the Jags have been pretty much awful. I think their second year they were in an AFC title game. They've had some awful years. Yeah. I think you could make a legitimate case for, like you said, Giants have won Super Bowls. Their history is legitimate. But I think you could make a case for the Jets. I think you could make a case for the Jags. I think historically you could put the Browns or the Lions there. Nobody would say the Lions now. Yeah. I'll go with the Jets. I just think they're inept. I think they always make the wrong decision. I think it's followed them for forever. Now, they've won Super Bowls too, but it's been a while, right? But I'm going to go with the Jets.
Yeah, when's the last Super Bowl they won? Joe Namath.
Right. Yeah, so it's been a while. It's been a while.
At least the Raiders have won Super Bowls.
Yeah. Yeah, the Raiders, I feel like, have been more relevant in terms of winning than the Jets, but I don't know. There's a lot of bad franchises in the NFL.
There really is.
Next question.
Should the Niners be in a hurry to extend Brock Purdy?
I don't think they should be in a hurry, but I think that if they're going to start contract negotiations with him, they got to get this done quickly.
And have they started them? That's their hope, right?
Well, they mentioned today during their end-of-year press conference that Brock's their guy. And Kyle intends to have Brock here as long as he is here. And so with that said, just get it done. Just get it done. One of the biggest problems with the Niners this past year is the drama with Brandon Ayuk and then Trent Williams as far as contract negotiations go. And that's all anybody talked about in the offseason. And it created a trickle-down effect, and the vibe was off, and the mood was off, and it was a disaster. And then you sign him to this massive contract, and he tears his ACL. So now that contract looks awful. Probably should have traded him in the first place. So don't have that happen again. Get it done. Right away. Whenever you start negotiations, you have those talks, and you set a deadline. And that deadline has to be well before mini camps and OTAs and whatever else.
I think they'll come to terms. I don't think it'll be a problem. I think you could argue if it is the right decision. I think it's at least fair to say that, but I don't think they have many other options other than going with a guy that by and large has been very good for them. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Nobody would say that, but are there a lot of worse options than Brock Purdy? Absolutely. I think they'll come to terms, and ultimately, you're either going to win or lose the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy if you're a Niners fan over the next handful of years, because he's going to be at the controls for San Francisco on offense. Next question.
Is tonight a must-win game for the Aztecs?
Yeah, because give me their net ranking again or whatever.
What do you think it is?
You said 200-something.
So what do you think?
200-something, but I want to know the exact number.
289.
Ooh, that's even worse.
Now, it was 291 yesterday.
Ooh, what happened?
They went up.
Wow.
Other teams go down, they go up.
Cool.
So, yeah, must win.
They lose at home to Air Force. They're going to have to then win the Mountain West Conference regular season or
regular season won't mean anything.
And win the Mountain West Conference tournament.
Or just win the tournament.
Probably the tournament.
Because the regular season won't mean anything.
You're right.
Yeah, no, they got to win tonight. It is a must win for San Diego State at home. By the way, the NFL has put out a statement on contingency plans. They do plan to play this game Monday night in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium. If they cannot, and they're not making that determination right now because it's Wednesday and the NFL can move quickly. If the game is not played Monday night at SoFi Stadium, it will be played at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. So this game will be played Monday night. Minnesota will either fly to Los Angeles and play, or they will fly to Arizona where they would meet the Rams, who would also have to fly to Arizona to play that game. But the game will go on. The NFL is big business. They have dealt with natural disasters previously. JB Long talked about that Mexico City game that was moved back to LA. The postseason will go on, and there will be a game Monday night right here on San Diego Sports 760 somewhere.
Yeah, the NFL will figure it out. Yep. You can't control these things. It just happens, and you got to pivot when you have no other choice. And I think going to Arizona makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, hopefully everything works out. But yeah, there's more important things right now.
Yeah, I mean the images from the Palisades.
You saw that? You saw that?
And I mean,
dude,
I've seen video, and I mean it's like it's
heartbreaking.
Yeah, you never wish this on anyone anywhere, and we all know it. I mean, if you live in Southern California, the truth is, if you're anywhere, things can happen. We all understand that things can occur. Non-predictable events occur, right? We've all had something surprising occur in our lifetimes. But you just take it for granted sometimes. You wake up, it's nice outside, and then all of a sudden, in an instance, everything changes. And this is a classic example of that. Sunny day in Southern California, but boom, Santa Ana wins, a spark, and now you've got tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people, that will be displaced for a really long time.
Businesses are gone.
Homes are
gone. It's like so heartbreaking to see these images in LA because
I've seen them here.
Yep. Seen them in Northern California. And if you have firsthand experience with fires affecting the community, I mean, you can't help but put yourself in that situation and be like, man, if that happened, what if that happened to me? What if that happened to where I live,
And we've said this, I think we started the show by saying, like, we get caught up so much in sports. You love your team, you hate your rival, you want your team to do well, you want your opponent to do poorly or your rival to do poorly. But at the end of the day, we all live in Southern California. We're all human beings. Nobody wants to see anyone hurt and suffering. I mean, we're all human beings, and to see what's going on. And by the way, it's far from over. I mean, you have no containment on fires throughout Southern California, and these winds are going to continue in Southern California. Unfortunately, we haven't had precipitation in forever in Southern California, and we're all at the mercy of
weather,
the spark of a fire.
Like the one thing that we'll never be able to control is the weather,
the ocean, Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
I mean, we can't control it.
Is undefeated.
Yeah, and it's sad, and it's Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice to get your mind off it, like when the Rams take the field on Monday night, and they will, whether it's in Phoenix or in Los Angeles. It's nice to be able to take your mind off it for a moment and say, oh, this is important. You got Kevin O'Connell opposite Sean McVay. You got these quarterbacks battling it out on field, right? Darnold and Stafford. It takes your mind off it, but I mean, then you get back to it. I mean, and then real people are displaced for weeks, months, years, and don't get back to their way of life for a long period of time. And you just, I mean, I'm thinking about first responders. So are you. I'm thinking about people displaced. I'm thinking about Southern Californians.
I saw something on social media, and this couple was on vacation, and they look and find out that their home burned down while they were on vacation.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, they're obviously they're okay, but still, being on vacation and all of a sudden, our house burned down. Like,
you don't expect that. There's certain, I mean, I don't. But also, like, you wake up, like I'm going to wake up, or we woke up today. I'm not expecting to be evacuated from my home.
No, never.
But it could happen, and it happens often, unfortunately, in the state of California. So we are thinking about those that have been impacted here over the last 48 hours. We have thoughts on everything playing out with the Padres. You'll hear from JB Long, voice of the Rams, if you missed it in the 5 o'clock hour. And also, we are giving away more Aztec tickets for Tuesday night against Colorado State. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim. All right, so don't go through another year with all that high interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it out right now. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket. You can do it fast with no appraisals or paperwork or even any waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech gets you approved and funded in as little as a day. One day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, and a personal loan, saving over $1,500 per month. That's crazy money. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt free by this time next week. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Get your free quote now with no hard credit pull, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org. All right, Jon and Jim with you. More Aztec tickets to give away coming up later this hour. If you missed JV Long, voice of the Rams, you'll hear him coming up at 5:30. Also, starting next Monday, San Diego Sports 760 has 9 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the Grand Cash Contest. It's every hour, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. starting next Monday. Listen for the keyword that enter at sports.com starting next Monday at 6 a.m. Presented by Palomar Solar, solar batteries.
I just mentioned this.
No.
So I love the tonight. Right, happening right now. The Thunder are playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Thunder have a 30-5 record. They're first in the West. The Cavs are 31-4. They're first in the East. Those are good records. The 2 best teams in basketball are playing right now on ESPN. Right? Does anybody? I think people are
through the regular season.
What does that
Yep.
say about either the NBA or these teams, or what does it just say
Yeah.
about it in general?
Well, we say a lot with baseball, the regular season, it's so long, right? That each and every game isn't overly relevant. But I'm wondering, are we saying the same thing about the NBA? That every team makes the postseason, therefore, what is the value of the regular season?
I think it's not about that.
What is it about?
I think it's about that the players on these teams. Shea's a great player.
Yeah.
Donovan
Mitchell
Mitchell is a great player.
Yeah.
They don't resonate. Those guys don't resonate. I'm sorry, they don't. If this was a matchup between the Thunder and the Cavs, and the Thunder had KD and the Cavs had LeBron, this is one of the biggest games of the regular season. Right now, I'm sorry, this game ain't going to do it. This game is not going to cut it. I just don't have any interest, and has nothing to do with the players. It's just the players they don't resonate. And that's why going forward, when LeBron retires, when Steph retires, when Kevin Durant retires, the NBA, I feel, they're going to be in trouble.
I don't know if it's the resonating of the players or not. I really don't, because LeBron James plays for the Lakers. Are Lakers games resonating?
If the Lakers were one of the best teams in basketball, yeah, it would, but they're not. I'm just saying this right now. You're a casual NBA fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sports fan. So, yeah. But the NBA is not my favorite sport.
No, but you would watch you would look up if this was a game with the two best teams in the NBA and one has KD on it and the other has LeBron on it, or Steph and LeBron.
Sure.
You would look up.
Yeah.
I'm not looking up at this.
Right. I don't know how to describe it, because I feel
it's
what
weird,
you're saying.
I don't know how to put it into context.
Growing up, and even as a young adult, I was all in, man. Okay.
Me too.
And as I've gotten older, and I'm not old, but now that I'm in my 40s, for whatever reason, the sport, the NBA has not resonated with me as much over the last 10 years. Now, I think it has for you, because the last 10 years is the best 10 years in the history of the Golden State Warriors.
Correct.
So you have this amazing 10-year run.
I'm watching right now. I have no idea
you know who
that guy is. The only person I know, the only people I know right now that I see is Donovan Mitchell, who's not on the court.
Right.
And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who is, I guess, the front runner for MVP right now.
Well, what about what other people say? And this is not the Steph Curry three-point conversation, but just hear me out. That every shot in the NBA is a three-pointer. Because even Adam Silver said, hey, we'll look into it. We've never had more of a percentage of attempts being from beyond the arc than now. I don't know what the percentage is. It's absurd. But someone could look that up. Are half the attempts in the NBA from three? Is it more than that? Right? It's something like that. Half of the attempts.
It's a lot.
Which I don't have a problem with. I kind of like seeing. I mean, I have no problem with three-pointers going in, and they make them at a good clip in the NBA. But is that less appealing? Is that the baseball true outcome argument? All they do is strike out or walk or hit a home run.
But my point doesn't have anything really to do with the style of the game.
I think that's my point, though. I think it actually does. That maybe the game isn't as appealing to the viewer, and I think it's watered down because every team is in the postseason.
Okay, but my point doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with these are the two best teams in basketball, and I can name two guys on them. To the point where, what?
Right. Okay.
They don't resonate, and that's, I think, a problem with the NBA is that your best teams, the Cavs and the Thunder. I'm sorry, for the casual fan of a bunch of no names.
Imagine Cavs Thunder in the NBA Finals.
It'd be
without LeBron.
One of the worst rated finals ever. And these teams are really good. They're really good.
Did we have who was the Thunder opponent when they were all young and they got to the NBA Finals?
The Heat.
Okay, it was the Heat. Yeah.
But you had Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh,
and you had KD,
Harden, Westbrook.
Yep.
I don't know what where the end of this is for my reason why or what I'm trying to get at here. I just know that when I looked up at the television,
you're saying Isaiah Hartenstein and Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams and Luguentz Dort, the starters alongside SGA, aren't resonating with you?
No.
Isaiah Hartenstein, Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams, and Luguentz Dort.
And maybe this is a bigger picture of with college basketball and the transfer portal and the fact that these kids are only in college for a year, like the good ones, like Cooper Flagg's going to be in the NBA next year.
Yep.
That you're not getting enough time to know these players before they become NBA players. And you're not getting enough time on the national stage for these guys to turn into stars before they become NBA players. And so then you have a bunch of random players on teams like the NBA draft last year. Honestly, I don't remember who the number one pick was.
Here's the thing. It's got a very European influence.
That too.
So there's that. But hear me out on that. Okay, we don't get to know these players before they're in the NBA. Nobody knew who Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, LeBron James were. We never saw them.
Well,
and we saw them on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
You knew who LeBron was.
But were you watching
was.
St. Vincent, St. Mary? I wasn't.
But back then, would you agree?
It was a big, certainly LeBron. Kevin Garnett, maybe to some extent. Kobe Bryant, Kobe Bryant was not a national name.
Well, it helped you went to the Lakers.
Yes. If he would have gone to the Hornets, right? Like it wasn't some national appeal.
Back in that time,
right?
A high school kid coming out, like that's a big deal.
That was a big story.
Kevin Durant coming out, that's a big deal. LeBron, the most recognizable college or the high school player maybe ever, right? Coming out, it's a big deal. Now in the NBA, you're right. The foreign and European influence.
It's significant.
It is very significant.
Which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, some very likable players would be, over the last 25 years, European players, right? The Jokic's, the Doncic's, the Nowitzki's. There have been some unbelievably talented foreign-born players.
And this is not a knock on Jokic, but because he's a great player.
You're saying he's boring.
He's the most boring player on the planet to
he's boring.
Market.
He's boring.
His game is really good, but he also doesn't care about being marketed. He doesn't care about taking the flag as being the number one guy in the league. And I don't think it resonates with people in the States because Jokic is not from America. And I think that plays a little factor as well, too.
You know, it's interesting. Maybe the NBA today isn't as popular in the U.S. as it was, let's just say 10 years ago, but it's probably more popular worldwide.
Maybe I am 1,000% wrong. Maybe the ratings for this game right now on ESPN turn out to be the best of the year.
Probably not. They'll probably be good.
But I'd be hard pressed to think that it's going to be the best when I'm as a big NBA fan as I am, looking at this matchup and thinking to myself, I have no interest in it. None. I have no interest. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care about Lou Dort. I don't care about Jared Allen. They just don't resonate with me. Shea does, but it's not at a level where I must and I have to watch this game.
That's interesting. I want to talk about this as well on the other side. I watch games more for teams than players, but it's interesting. You watch the NBA based on players.
Like Darius Garland, good player. Doesn't resonate at all.
But to me, it's more about the matchup than it is the individual players. It's about the teams to me over the player. But I do think we're heading in this fantasy world where kids grow up liking players just as much as they like teams. We'll continue to have that conversation on the other side. We have Aztec tickets to give away this hour. Stay with us, Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. Aztecs take on Air Force tonight at Viejas Arena. 7:30 tip time. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Our pregame starts at 6:30. In baseball news of the day, Martin Perez, former Padres pitcher, signed with the Chicago White Sox. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
All right, again, starting next Monday, San Diego Sports 760 has 9 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the
Actually,
grand.
13 is the typo. My bad.
Oh. Starting next Monday, San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with the grand in your hand cash contest. It's every hour, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Starting next Monday, listen to the keywords and enter at sportsSC.com. Starting next Monday, 13 chances to win $1,000 beginning at 6 a.m. Presented by Palomar Solar, your trusted partner for solar, batteries, and roofing. So, okay, hear me out for a second. We're going to give Aztec tickets in 10 minutes. You'll hear from JB Long, voice of the Rams, at 5:30. When I was a kid, I watched
When I was a little whippersnapper.
I watched my teams because I want to see my team win. I had no infatuation solely with the players themselves. We all had favorite players. Of course, we've all had jerseys and posters and all of that. But it did me no good if my team lost, but my favorite player played really well. I was solely focused on the end result of the game. Solely. I mean, completely focused. If they won, great. If they lost, it was the worst thing ever and I can't sleep. I feel as if that has changed to some extent here with generations that have come since the John Schaefer generation. I think young people now really are much more infatuated with like the fantasy element and the social media element of these individuals, that they're less concerned with the team result and more concerned with the individual player.
Okay.
And I think that was a little bit of what you were saying there about like these Cavs don't resonate with me, but I'm like, yeah, but they're 31-4.
But you're also not a Cavs fan. So my point is, I am an NBA fan. All right. Yes, I'm a Warriors fan. Obviously, the Warriors aren't playing tonight. If they were playing, I'd watch, because
Okay.
like I'm a fan. I get what you're saying. I watch my team. But my point is not about that. It's about you have the two best teams in the league. And for the NBA fan who's not a fan of these two teams, does that resonate? Unless you're a diehard NBA fan, unless you cover the NBA, like, of course, you're watching this game.
Sure.
It could be an NBA Finals preview. But, like, give me one compelling thing with this matchup other than that's two best teams. Like, it's not – I can't be like Donovan Mitchell versus Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. That doesn't resonate. That doesn't, like, sell tickets as far as, like, for the casual fan or put more eyeballs on the game. That's the casual fan.
No, some of what you're saying, I agree like to a large extent with what you're saying. But, okay, take me back. Let's go back to 2011.
Okay.
So go back 15 years. If it was the top two teams in the NBA, or go back to like Shaq on Orlando. I'm trying to find nonsense when it's not Los Angeles, like when it's not the Lakers.
Well, okay.
When the Kings were really good and when the Magic were really good, we're all eyeballs watching Kings Magic.
When were the Kings and Magic ever good at the same time?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 20 years ago. Well, whatever. You get my point. When Shaq was out of Orlando and when the Kings were good.
All right, how about this? The NBA Finals in 94, 95, when there's no Jordan, you have the Rockets against the Magic, right?
Okay.
And then the other one was
Knicks, Rockets.
Well,
That was
Knicks.
a strike season.
Yes, but you still have the Knicks, so you had the New York market. You had Patrick Ewing, Hall of Famer. You had Akeem Olajuwon, Hall of Famer. Like, Dream Team guys. Shaq, one of the biggest players coming out of college from LSU.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but these players are as good as those players by and large. I mean, it's not Shaquille O'Neal, but there are players on this court tonight between Oklahoma City and Cleveland that will end up in the Naismith Hall of Fame.
I just think that one of the big problems with the NBA, and you saw it on Christmas, they put what two teams in prime time?
They put Lakers Warriors.
Okay, those teams aren't good.
Right.
Okay. But they drew
But those are the more popular or most popular
They drew
teams.
massive ratings. You know who didn't play on Christmas? the Thunder and the Cavs, the two best teams in the league. What does that say about your sport?
Well, also, okay, but they also picked the Christmas Day games before we knew the Thunder and the Cavs were the Thunder and the Cavs.
But the Cavs
We're already good, and the Thunder were good too last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, they put the
What's
best.
your fix?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it starts in the college level, though. I do. Because right now with the transfer portal, like Cooper Flag.
Yep.
Perfect example.
I don't think he's nationally resonated as much as people thought.
I don't think he has, but he's resonated more than some.
Yeah, than
some in recent memory.
Yeah, no, he ain't Zion.
And part to do with it is he was like a select player for the Olympic team,
yeah.
and he goes to Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But has he taken the sport by storm the way Zion Williamson did 5-6 years ago?
And Zion, you're great.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with Zion, and it's tough because like you want every team to have a chance, but going to the Pelicans probably wasn't the best.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you went to the Knicks, that'd be awesome. Went to the Lakers.
But this is a problem, though. And again, the NFL dwarfs everything, but nobody ever says in the NFL, like, oh man, he went to Green Bay. What a small market. Oh, he went to Pittsburgh. Oh, Pittsburgh.
And when the Thunder had KD and Russ and Harden, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who cares? Right. But like KD resonated.
Yeah, he did, but not to the same extent.
Didn't he win? Didn't he win
the Lakers?
Did he win National Player of the Year in college at Texas when he 1 year?
Yeah, he's 1 year.
Okay, so the National Player of the Year in college,
but every National Player of the Year in college ends up in the NBA.
But he actually turned out to be like a superstar.
We're trying to hammer a nail that is moving. You can't put your finger quite on the reason as to why for you and I, it doesn't resonate the same way as it did 10 years ago. The truth is, Jim, if we had 16-year-old kids, maybe they would like it more than we liked it when we were 16. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that if this ended up being the NBA Finals,
it'd be a problem.
It'd be a disaster.
And they'd prefer the 41-41 Lakers. I'm making it up. If they did finish 41-41 to be in the NBA Finals to Oklahoma City, of course.
You could do a consolation bracket with the
Lakers
awful
and
Warriors and Warriors.
Yeah.
Warriors and Lakers, and they would double the ratings of these two teams.
Yeah, that is telling.
Yep.
I don't know what it's telling.
That doesn't necessarily mean that those are going to be good games, though. The TV people thought that the Yankees-Dodgers was going to be the greatest World Series in the history of baseball, and guess what? If you didn't live in New York or LA, you didn't give a crap about it.
Right? Didn't draw the numbers,
but it did have some big time.
Well, yeah, because it was the two biggest cities in the country.
It did.
And you had superstars. It's not like they had a bunch of no names.
You're right.
You had Ohtani, you
Soto,
had Judge.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't. I mean, baseball is a completely different thing, but like I'm talking about.
And at least this game's on in prime time. If this is MLB's two best teams playing, it would have been at 1:30 in the afternoon.
I'm just saying the two best teams in the league have a bunch of no-name guys on it.
Right.
Nobody resonates. None. I'm sorry. Donovan Mitchell, really good player. Doesn't resonate. Shea, great player. Doesn't resonate. That's my point.
I hear you.
Like wasn't it to me? It was a surprise looking up and I'm like, Oklahoma City against Cleveland. Like what?
No, I do hear you. You're making valid points. It's just for me, and maybe it's because I really lean towards college, and the NBA outrates college basketball by and large until you get to March Madness. But like when you throw on March Madness.
It's a playoff format. Like it's different.
You're almost there for Cinderella. You don't care. You even haven't heard of any of these people.
I know that. It's
when it's Oral Roberts.
Yes, you always root for the underdog.
Kansas.
You always root for the underdog.
Yeah,
but like this, I'm like, okay.
All right, call right now if you want tickets to see the Aztecs next Tuesday night against Colorado State at Viejas. This is a week from yesterday, so 6 days from now. San Diego State, Colorado State. At Viejas Arena. If you want 2 free tickets, you want to call 877-767-4760 right now. Now, the first 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. But again, the number to call, 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be our contestants. One more time. Pick up the phone and call 877-767-4760. Trainwreck Radio. That's next. All right, Jon and Jim with you. JB Long, voice of the Rams. You can hear the Rams take on the Vikings Monday at 5 p.m. If you missed our conversation, you'll hear it coming up at 5:30. We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets. We drop off one for Aztec basketball tickets. Call 877-767-4760 right now. We'll do some trivia. 2 tickets for Tuesday night at Viejas Arena. 2 free tickets. If you call right now, you can play Juan in Trainwreck Radio or trivia.
Oh, must be nice.
Call 877-767-4760. Should be a good game. San Diego State, Colorado State. They've had some good battles over the years. 877-767-4760. Call right now. I noticed that you, during the break, found a croissant.
I did. It's delicious.
Is it a plain croissant? Is it chocolate?
No, John. It's a croissant filled with like jam or like a strawberry or jelly
like
or
a filling.
Like a filling croissant.
I would consider
it's buttery and flaky.
I consider you to be among the oddest eaters I know.
Yes.
Very odd.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you eat. Like, I don't know what you on Saturday morning. I don't know what you do. On Tuesday night, I don't know what you do. I don't know. Your Rubio's midday. I think you make eggs or something in the morning, weekdays and weekends. You make your dinners with Aaron. You make them.
Are you still getting kids' meals at Rubio's?
No, that was only one time, Brent. That was a one-time thing.
Yeah, one time for a year.
No, it was I literally only had a kid meal one time.
What did the kid meal entail again?
It was like a quesadilla, like a cheese quesadilla or something. I really wanted a cheese quesadilla, and I just got a cheese quesadilla. Sorry.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what my point is. I'm a weird eater too, but you're a really weird eater.
I had cereal and a protein bar this morning.
That's weird.
What's weird about that?
Cereal and a protein bar?
Yeah.
That's the weird part, the combination. Protein bar, not weird. Cereal, not weird.
Well,
Put them together?
I had cereal, and then after I finished my cereal, I had a protein bar.
In the same sitting? Were you sitting down and you had cereal and then you opened up the...
No, I had the cereal.
And then like 40 minutes later had the protein bar?
I had the protein bar like 5 minutes later.
What kind of cereal?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
What? It's okay.
I think John thinks there's enough protein in that. You didn't need the bar.
I don't know.
I had that. I had a sandwich, some chips. I had now this croissant. And then tonight I'll be cooking tilapia.
Exactly. Thank you.
Dude, right. You know what I'm making tomorrow night? Because Claire's in town, and then her husband Josh is coming to town.
So you're making something specifically for Claire?
Yeah. You listening, Darnay? I'm making artichokes tomorrow night. I'm making rack of lamb, and I'm making honey cornbread.
What does this have to do with Darnay?
Because he always thinks that I eat artichokes every night.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, because every time I have an artichoke, I send him a picture of
Right,
artichoke.
that is true.
And he goes, you literally eat more artichokes than I
don't
know.
like artichokes.
I don't think I've ever had an artichoke.
You would like my artichoke.
I probably would.
It's a special grilled artichoke that I cook first, and then I marinate it all day in like this A1 barbecue, soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, lemon juice, olive oil, pepper seasoning. And then I put it on the grill for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I have a special garlic aioli that you dip the leaves in and you eat it like that.
What leaves? The artichoke has leaves?
Yeah, I remember my first time eating an
Dude,
artichoke.
open a restaurant.
I might. I honestly
Seriously,
might.
open a restaurant.
I quit. I'm opening a restaurant.
Thank you. Let's get to it.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants. We have Juan and Alejandro. Juan, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
John.
Okay. Juan, do you want to go with John, which is, basically Juan, or do you want to go with Jim?
No. Why would I do that?
Okay, hold on. So each of you is going to be paired with one of us on this show, on this trivia game. So, Juan, we're asking you, do you want to be paired with John, that's me, or do you want to be paired with Jim, that's Jim?
No. I want a chance of winning. I want John.
Oh, well said.
No.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Juan and John, which is like John and Juan.
And Alejandro, you get me, okay?
Okay.
Alejandro
All right.
and Jim.
All right, Brent, what's the question?
All right, we'll see who was paying attention earlier. Earlier today, we talked about the 8 most stressed out fan bases in all of Major League Baseball per Vegas Insider. Today's question: name any of those 8 most stressed out fan bases in Major League Baseball.
All right, Alejandro, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm gonna go with Padres.
The Padres.
It seems like a really good guess. We talked about it earlier. They're ninth. They're the ninth most stressed out fan. I agree with you. They should be top 8.
They're
Yeah.
Maybe if they redo the poll after what happened this week.
Juan, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going with the Pirates.
The Pirates.
Pittsburgh. Yes. Always a safe bet.
Yeah. Alejandro, you're up. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll say the Rockies.
The Rockies.
Good call.
Number 1 on that list. He was listening.
All right.
Back to you, Juan. What is your next guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I will use my lifeline.
All right.
It's you?
No, that's you, buddy.
Juan?
It's Juan.
All right. We've said Pirates and Rocky. Okay, I'll give you the Miami Marlins.
The Miami Marlins. You take that one.
I will take it.
All right.
Boom. There we go.
All right, Alejandro, you need this to stay in the game. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Yeah, I'll use it.
All right. Oakland / now Sacramento A's.
Yeah, I'll take it.
There we
A's
go.
fans are mad.
They are very mad.
And
I
stressed.
don't blame them. Juan, you could walk off here, though, with the correct answer.
The White Sox.
The White Sox?
White Sox for the win is
Oh,
correct.
didn't even
Wow.
need. Just boom.
No,
boom,
he didn't
boom.
have the I gave him the
Yeah,
lifeline.
that's right. Yeah. Didn't need any help, though.
That's right. All right. Who was on this list? We talked about it earlier.
Rockies were 1, White Sox were 2, Tampa Bay was 3, the A's were 4, Marlins 5, Brewers were 6, Pirates were 7, and Detroit was number 8.
All right. Congratulations, Juan. You are going to see the Aztecs Tuesday night at Viejas Arena at 8 p.m. Take on Colorado State. Tickets at goaztecs.com. San Diego State, Colorado State men's basketball at Viejas Arena on Tuesday night. We have men's basketball tonight at 7:30. San Diego State and Air Force from Viejas. Our pregame coverage is going to begin at 6:30 next hour. Back to the Padres offseason, how this lawsuit gets in the way or doesn't. Plus, an update from Los Angeles with JB Long, voice of the Rams, on Monday Night Football in the wild card round between the Rams and the Vikings. If you missed our conversation, you'll hear it coming up at 5:30. We're here until 6. It's Jon and Jim. too. But in 2023, they did it. But in 2025, they might go to court over some. By the way, also going to court basically means you're not signing a player long term.
No,
Right? Where you're not going to court.
Look what happened with
Michael King.
Look what happened to the Brewers. How many times they've gone to arbitration and it's like burned bridges and ruined relationships, and they ended up trading those players. Corbin Burns, Josh Hader. Josh Hader was a mess after his arbitration.
Right. Correct. So, I mean, and how much are you saving? That's the other thing I always wonder in these situations. Let's say the arbiter or whatever says, okay, this player's owed 13 million. And you're like, well, we'll give him 11. So you're saving like $1 million or $2 million per player on 1 or 2 or 3 players. So you're saving $1, 2, 3, 4, 5, $6 million. In the grand scheme, is it really worth pissing off the player and his representation to save $1 million per player or $1.5 million per player? I would argue no. But this doesn't guarantee that they're going to go to arbitration with these players either. It just says that they've got 6 players up for arbitration, including Arise, Cease, King, right?
So $45.275 million.
That was 2 years ago.
Okay. It's hard to read this on the fly.
It's hard to read.
That too.
Well, they don't know the number because they haven't determined it yet, but it could be in the neighborhood of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing here.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that once again, the actions of this team feel very penny pincher, right? Like, oh, we have to keep it at this number and we have to go below here and below here. How about this? How about realize that you were the favorites to win the World Series last year? You have a team that is going to come in pissed off because of what happened against the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you, I don't know, make some moves to get over that hump this year and to come back this season reloaded instead of depleted, instead of, well, we had to trade Dylan Cease because of money. We had to trade Luis Ariz because of money. Like, that isn't, you know what it doesn't work with? It doesn't work with the clubhouse. It doesn't work with the players. Like, they don't give a crap what the financials are. All they care about is getting paid and winning on the field. And I can tell you one thing. I bet you everybody in that clubhouse feels like Luis Ariz and Dylan Cease are guys that they need on that roster to help them win.
Right. Like, to your point, you can't say we're actively talking with players to build a playoff-worthy roster and then go to arbitration with players when you've never gone to arbitration. You've never gone to arbitration for a reason. Mm-hmm. And the reason was, we're not going to fight this case.
We're going to settle.
Yeah, we'll allow it to play out. Whatever the court says the player is owed, the player will be owed that amount. I don't even fully understand how arbitration works, right? Basically a number is thrown out there by the court.
It's a number by the player and a number by the team. And they go to court and the team says why they should give them that number. Right. And then the player says why they should get that number. And then they ended up basically it's like the
settling
team
in the middle.
The team tells the player everything bad about them and what they don't like about them, to why they don't want to give them the money that the player's asking for.
Like, how could you possibly make the case that your house is in order if you're doing something you haven't done over the last decade?
Yeah, this would be another sign of you need to pinch pennies, and they're worried about millions of dollars, like just like a couple $1 million here and there to make sure that they get under a number. I look. They have a lot of work to do on the field to get this team ready for this year. A lot of work. But now they've made it even harder on themselves with a lot of, I guess, PR work with the fan base. Mm-hmm. And now PR work does not win you championships. Winning the press conference doesn't win you a championship. None of that matters. What matters is on the field.
Right.
But you're not even doing anything to help the on-field product. And inside the organization, I tend to believe that they feel paralyzed from what's going on, as Kevin reported yesterday. And to think any otherwise, just look at what they've done. They've done nothing.
And here's the question. Who wants to go to arbitration? Is it Jon Seidler or is it AJ Preller? My guess is it's Jon Seidler. AJ Preller isn't the one that is writing the checks. He works for an organization that writes checks. He
you
works for an
imagine that?
organization that writes checks. So if it actually is something AJ Preller would not prefer doing, and I already know he doesn't want to do it. How? He's been here 10 years. He's never done it. So he doesn't want to do it. That's clear and evident and obvious. I mean, clear as day. So if they end up in an arbitration court, guess who doesn't want to be there? Anyone with the Padres other than their ownership, because that's not how they operate. You may disagree with the way AJ Preller has modeled his baseball franchise over the last 10 years, but you can't disagree. You can't tell me that now he prefers to go to arbitration when he hasn't for 10 years.
Right.
That would be a complete about face.
Yeah. I mean, these moves that are going to be happening here soon, they better happen quick. You know,
This isn't the move I was looking for. Hey, Thursday's the arbitration date to determine whether you're going to go to court.
what also could, it also could signal what they potentially could do, you know, with Cease and Arise, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think what you're going to do with Cease or Arise might be predicated on what they're going to make, right? Because if the court says they're going to make more than you're willing to dole out,
Now,
then maybe you have to move them.
I don't know the answer to this question, but say they decide to go to arbitration with these players, can they still trade them during that process, during that time? And then the team they trade them to has to deal with that?
No idea.
I don't know.
The deadline for teams and arbitration eligible players to reach an agreement on a contract or face an arbitration hearing is Thursday. Even if the sides don't agree by Thursday, they can do so at any point during their hearing. Those begin next month. Yeah, I really don't know what to make of that. So,
And he mentions the last part of this goes, a contract agreed to before an arbitration hearing is guaranteed. Salaries awarded via arbitration are not fully guaranteed until opening day.
I think it's semantics.
Could be, but you could also look at an organization that doesn't want to spend any money right now and looking to go to arbitration so they can figure out either how to trade them before opening day or trade other pieces to make sure that arbitration number fits in, because they don't have to worry about this and not guaranteed contracts until opening day.
Is it just me, or does $13 million for Dylan Cease sound like a bargain?
Oh,
is it just me, or does
Justin
$13 million
Verlander got 15, dude?
Is it just me, or does $10 million for Michael King sound like a bargain?
Bargain.
Is it just me, or does $13 million for Luis Arraez seem appropriate?
Appropriate.
I got no issues here. Now, again, I'm not writing the checks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Jon Seidler. And AJ Preller's not writing the checks either, and they're going to have a budget that they're going to have to work within. And arbitration eligible players are not free agents. So I get it. You don't pay them the same as free agents. But if you would have told me that Michael King gets $10 million and Dylan Cease gets $13 million, I'd say go run the thing back. That's more than fair and reasonable. And you should be able to win with those payrolls.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not unrealistic payrolls that are albatrosses or weighing you down. You should be able to win with a Dylan Cease $13 million payroll.
Yeah, and even if you are looking to trade him, and if the main motive behind that truly isn't because we can't afford him for this season, long term, absolutely. Long term, you can't afford Dylan Cease. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. But short term, 100% you can. So if you're thinking, and if it's true with the front office and they've gotten the okay, like, hey, yeah, you can have Dylan Cease for $13 million this year. Totally fine. But if they're thinking, well, okay, that's great, but we also know after this year, we're not going to be able to re-sign him because he's looking for like a $200+ million contract. So the best course of action would be to move him to acquire the necessary pieces to fill out the rest of our roster. Okay. I don't like it per se, because I think Dylan Cease is a guy that can help you win in the now, and they need to win now. But I understand that. But if you're telling me you're trading him because you can't afford $13 million for this season, that's where I think it's going to just completely be a miss with the fans.
Yeah, he even writes like Arraez making $13 million or more presents a particular challenge as he won his third consecutive batting title, but also ranked 77th in slugging percentage. That's because his slugging percentage is irrelevant to his job.
Completely. He is a one-of-one player that does something that no one else does in baseball, which is he never strikes out and he always leads the league in average.
Yeah, like the slugging percentage
I don't
should
care.
not be used in an arbitration case against Luis Arraez.
Dude's not
I
Barry
would
Bonds.
stand up and be like, dude, that's not my job.
Right.
Like my job is to get on base. Someone else's job is to get me in.
Yeah.
And by the way, he does a good job with hitting with men in scoring position, despite a low slugging percentage.
Isn't his average with runners in scoring
It's
position
ridiculous.
in the high 300s?
Yeah, it was ridiculous last year. You remember how clutch he was?
Yep.
So be careful what you wish for. I mean, oh, well, you know what? 14 million is too much. He's got to go. Well, that changes everything because the guy gets on base a lot and he drives guys in a lot. So you're going to have to find someone that's capable of doing what Luis Arraez did last year. I don't think that's that easy if you've watched the Padres the last decade.
Yeah. And you look at his last, 3 seasons?
He's hit like 500.
2022, 2023, and 2024. I mean, his on base percentage, John, averages around high 370s.
Yeah, solid.
And you look at his season, 316 average, 354 average, 314 average.
Yeah, that plays.
He's a career 372 on base percentage. That
plays
really good.
More on that on the other side. JB Long, voice of the Rams. If you missed it at 5:30, it's Jon and Jim. All right, JB Long, voice of the Rams. If you missed him earlier, you'll hear that conversation coming up at 5:30. We spoke with him before the NFL announced that if the game isn't played in LA, it will be played in Glendale, Arizona. They're still hopeful they can play the game in LA, Monday at 5 p.m. right here, by the way, on San Diego Sports 760. We're still processing Kevin Acee's article about arbitration eligible Padres. The Padres have drawn a line in the sand that has benefited their players for a decade under AJ Preller. They have not gone to arbitration. They have always settled, right? They've come to an agreement without the court. He writes, by the way, he doesn't say it will change. He says it could change this time around for the Padres.
If they go to one single arbitration case this year, I will 1,000% put that on new ownership. 1,000%. It's unacceptable. You have gone 10 years without going to an arbitration case. And now, all of a sudden, during this lawsuit and during change of ownership group and not people, but like, new control person, and all of a sudden, you go to an arbitration? That's on you guys.
Right.
You will be labeled, and rightfully so, as being so cheap. All of a sudden, you now go to arbitration. Unacceptable. It really is.
And by the way, this is with some of your best players. Michael King, Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz are of the caliber that they're top flight on your team, right? They're 3 of the top 10. They're not 3 of the bottom 5. You know what? If you want to go to arbitration with Luis Campusano, do it. I don't care personally.
I care.
I don't think they will.
No, it's about.
It's just about what's right.
It's about what's right.
Yeah.
It's about what they've done, and it's about how this organization has been run in principle. I don't care if it was Tyler Wade they went to arbitration with. Still would. My point would still be the same, and my opinion would still be the same. You go to one arbitration case, I don't care who it is. Then guess what? This ownership group, in my opinion, as bluntly as I could say it, sucks.
This is what I do know. Even if they don't go to arbitration, but they get surprised by the amount, they just, oh my gosh, we thought Cease was going to be 13. It's actually 17. Or we thought King was going to be 10. It's actually 15. I think that will spur on real movement. I do think that trades occur based on the dollar figures that these players ultimately end up commanding, right? As that number goes up, the more likely those players are not here in 2025. If that Dylan Cease number is in 13 million, but it's 16, if that Luis Ariz number is in 13, but it's 15, I think it's more likely that that player is not here in 2025. Like you keep saying, actions are speaking louder than words. Their actions are, they're doing a lot to keep this payroll under the CBT, and they have choices to make if they're going to be able to do that, because they owe all these players more than they made in 2024. And they have no real way. I mean, we've talked about it all offseason before Roki Sasaki and before the lawsuit. Like, what path do they have to lower their payroll? They don't. Just get rid of the players that make a lot of money. There's no path. Last year was Juan Soto.
So let me get this straight. If tomorrow they don't come to an agreement with these players after tomorrow, then it will officially go to arbitration?
They can still settle between tomorrow and whenever the date of the arbitration is. Let's say they schedule the arbitration, I'm making up, February 1st.
Got it.
Yeah, they could settle it. They could even settle it in court, it says. So like before, hey, we're all together. You know what? Let's just settle it.
Okay.
Let's settle it. We don't need the court to intervene.
Man, so many court
there's
issues with this team.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, am I concerned after reading that? Yeah, I am.
Nothing is like sunshine and rainbows with the Padres right now. The only thing that can change that in this moment is if they sign Roki Sasaki. You sign Sasaki.
That'd be huge.
A lot of people will take their mind off of and their energy off of like the stuff that's going on and focus it on with like, oh, we just got one of the best prospects like maybe ever.
I mean, to that point, I promise you this: if they sign Sasaki, they could go to arbitration. It would be water under the bridge. It would not get near the attention.
I mean, I still wouldn't like it.
I know, but they could use it as like cover. I don't think they would, but I mean, if you sign Roki this January, that is a significant story that will give them the goodwill to get into spring training with.
Yeah.
Especially with everything going on with the lawsuit. Man. But they still would have to go sign Roki Sasaki.
Correct. And not just sign him. It's not about that. It's about having Roki pick the Padres. Roki has
Yeah,
to
exactly.
choose to come here.
Yeah, they chose him. They'll
Yeah.
take him.
Yeah.
They would love to have him,
100%.
but he's going to have to choose them. And we are counting the days on that. We believe it will happen after the 20th of January, which would be 12-ish days from now. And we know it's not happening after January 23rd, which is 15 days from now. He must sign by January 23rd within that posting period that will expire on January 23rd. So we are days away, over a week, but days away from Roki Sasaki choosing his landing spot. Will it be San Diego or not? We have you covered no matter what selection he makes. All right, JB Long, voice of the Rams. You'll hear that conversation on the other side. Obviously, trying times in Los Angeles County right now that have nothing to do with Wild Card Weekend coming up Monday night between the Rams and the Vikings. But the latest on that game and the situation in Los Angeles, plus Jim's back page, then Aztecs and Air Force with pregame coverage at 6:30. It's Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Rapid Radios. Aztecs, they take on Air Force tonight, 7:30 tip-off, 6:30 pregame. It's reported that Farrell Compton will be suited and ready to go for the Aztecs tonight. Of course, you can listen to all the action right here on San Diego Sports 760. Rapid Radios are instant push to talk walkie-talkies, offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
All right, Aztecs pregame against Air Force coming up at 6:30. Ted Leitner's got the call at 7:30. You're home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Now, this conversation was before the NFL announced that if Monday's game is not played in LA, it'll be played in Glendale, Arizona. But we did catch up with JB Long, voice of the Rams, about everything going on in Los Angeles. Again, our thoughts are with people impacted by these wildfires. And we started the conversation talking about that, everything going on in Los Angeles right now with JB Long.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, as always, for the invitation. Extremely grateful for the extra day with the Rams being assigned to the 4-5 matchup against the Vikings on Monday night. I think we have all these conversations, as I'm sure you're having on your show, within the proper context of what a privilege it is to take a momentary detour from the tragedies that are happening all around us to talk NFL playoffs. We have some friends who've been displaced who are on their way over to stay with us for hopefully a night or two. And it's just kind of the reality that I'm sure a lot of people preparing for this game, either to coach it, play in it, attend it, are dealing with. And unfortunately, it's not unprecedented. You might remember the greatest Monday Night Football game of all time from the 2018 season between the Chiefs and the Rams was supposed to be played in Mexico City, but a strange confluence of factors, some of them tragic, some of them involving fires, led the Rams back to the Coliseum to play that game, drew a lot of inspiration from it. And I'm not trying to draw a competitive parallel from that year or that moment to this one, but at least the Rams organizationally have been through this before.
Yeah, I mean, all of our thoughts are with everyone in LA, and fires are, they're natural disasters, and it's a horrible sight to see, but we're glad to hear that everything is good with you, JB. No easy transition to the game on Monday night, but when you look at this matchup against the Vikings, Vikings won 14 games. It's probably I think it's the first time in history that a 5 seed has won 14 games, and they're the road team in playoff, series here. How do you like this matchup going forward with the Rams against the Vikings?
Well, I'm fascinated by it. I wouldn't say I like it in terms of necessarily the Rams' competitive chances. I do think that they should have every reason to believe they can take their swing and win it like they did back in Week 8. But so much has changed since then. I think both teams have thankfully gotten healthier for the most part at some key positions. Shy of that loss in Detroit in Week 18, Sam Darnold and the Vikings really found their finest form on offense. I think it's a real testament to Kevin O'Connell, who, for your audience, I would vote for Coach of the Year in the National Football League, to take a quarterback basically off the scrap heap and turn him into a Pro Bowl in Sam Darnold, surround him with some really great circumstances, great scheme, coach him up, produce amazing results, and their defense is top 5 in the league. So it's a tall test, but I kind of shape it up this way. I think the Rams' best is good enough to beat the Vikings for a second time this season, and there's no question that Minnesota's best, with 14 wins, a plus 100 scoring margin, is good enough to beat any team, I think, in the playoff field.
To go back a brief moment again on the situation surrounding this game, and JB Long is the voice of the Rams. Will the NFL need to make a determination at some point? And and what factor does this looming situation have on preparations, if that makes, is this impacting the Rams as they prepare? Because obviously their players are living in the LA area. Is everything status quo with preparation and practice leading up to this?
Well, what I've learned about the National Football League in my years covering the sport and working within it is they are kings of contingency, right? Like, I'm sure they're thinking of a whole bunch of different scenarios, hopefully none of which play out. I'm not privy to what those are. And thankfully, that extra day will prove, I believe, in the end, to be a blessing for everyone involved. Just to give you an example, so the Rams and Vikings both played Sunday. They find out their assignment. The Rams, I believe, got in the facility, got treatment Monday, had some meetings and a lift yesterday. Today would be their normal Tuesday off day, push back a day to Wednesday. So far, the wind and fire has not affected their practice facility. If these winds do indeed die down, hopefully they're able to do their walkthrough and practice tomorrow. And, you know, I'm not naive enough, Jon and Jim, to say with any confidence that the worst of this is behind us, right? Because I know there's still a lot of battles to be waged here. But hopefully improving conditions give the firefighters and everyone involved at least their best chance to start to achieve some semblance of containment. And football is way down the list of priorities in terms of getting back on our feet.
Oh, absolutely. It's like we were talking about at the start of the show, JB, you know, football and sports, like at the end of the day, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but there's way more important things than a winner and a loser of a game. But, you know, life goes on and sports goes on, and, you know, getting to Monday night and looking at the Rams season here, JB, for you, what was their turning point of the season?
Well, I think it was probably having the earliest bye of the Sean McVay era. It was back in week 6, coincidentally the same bye that the Minnesota Vikings had. But I'm not sure that the Rams stay afloat if they had to play a game in week 6. They were just in such a bad way from a roster management injury standpoint. That deep breath in October and then back-to-back home games, winning Sunday and Thursday against these Vikings, was the inflection point. It was rocket fuel. Getting Cooper Kupp and a surprise activation of Puka Nacua on that Thursday night to face the Vikings started to put things back in order. Those are two really big pieces that I mentioned. Getting the offensive line reassembled in front of Matthew Stafford allowed him to play some of his better football of the season. So I think it's been a total turnaround from 1-4. That's easy to say just looking down the schedule, but if you kind of peek inside the hood, it was a matter of not just getting healthy, but I think restoring their confidence, because with the hand they were dealt starting in training camp all the way through the first month of the season, not only was there, you know, reason to be rattled, but that trade deadline was fast approaching. And given the age of this roster and some of the investments they've made on it, you probably heard some of the rumors that were circulating about what would the Rams do if they didn't really feel like they could be contenders.
JB Long is with us. Now, I know they sat starters week 18, and I know the defense has been really good, but is there any concern with the offense in the last few weeks of the year? They weren't really scoring at a high level. I think week 18, maybe you take it out, but the 2 weeks prior to that, what do they score? They haven't scored 20 points in their last 3 games. Is that at all a concern heading in?
I think it's a totally valid concern. The symmetry is pretty staggering when you consider they put up 44 points and beat maybe the best team in the National Football League, the Buffalo Bills, and then they scored 44 points combined in their next 3 games, all of them wins, before resting starters in week 18. You know, there's all sorts of factors there. It was heavily raining in San Francisco. It was sub-freezing in New York. At the end of the day, those are all excuses. And if you look at what Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and some others have done in that 3-game stretch, it's not pretty, especially when you're preparing to face a Minnesota Vikings team that has a claim to being among, if not the best offensive teams in the sport. That being said, with a week to regroup and extra days to set your sights on this opportunity, I just have so much confidence in Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and others within this organization to put their best foot forward. When he gets that look of that eye, I'm talking about Matthew Stafford, when he gets that soul-snatching look in his eye, he's one of the 5 best throwers of the football on the planet. And I believe that's still in him, and I believe that's a possibility for Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this offense with Puka and Cooper and Stafford and Kyren Williams, like you would think this could be a high-power offense. You know, Cooper Kupp has not had the best year, under 800 yards receiving. At times, he kind of is MIA. Why is that? Why has that happened this season with Cooper, who was seemingly, I mean, the like almost the MVP a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easy thing is to say, oh, he's on the wrong side of 30. Father Time comes for us all. I think a more nuanced answer is, well, wait a second, like go back and look at what he did week 1 in Detroit when the whole thing was riding on his shoulders. Go back and look at, you know, that return to performance from week 8 against these Vikings until this 3-game slump. Like he was among the most targeted and most productive receivers in the league. So he either aged and then found the fountain of youth, and then aged and then found the fountain of youth and has aged again, or there's other things going on. And I would say the most recent example was against the Cardinals, the clinching win in week 17 for the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford was just so sped up because he was missing his right tackle, Rob Havenstein, and the protection was so porous, unfortunately, that he missed open Cooper Kupp on multiple occasions. So what we love about football is it's all stitched together. The design, the execution, the protection, the throws, the route running. And unfortunately, it just hasn't all aligned for Kupp recently. But I'm not ready. I see this through Rams colored lenses, of course. I'm not ready to say that he's not capable of having another vintage Cooper Kupp performance under the primetime lights on Monday.
What do you make? I mean, this gets talked about all the time in college football, like schedule and how could this team be seated here? They don't deserve that. And then you see in the NFL, you have a 14-3 team on the road. Again, from a Rams perspective, it's beneficial. They win the division. They're hosting the Vikings. What do you make of the format and really the lack of complaining that goes on in the National Football League and the format right now in college football and how much complaining there is over where teams are seated and how appropriate or not appropriate it is?
I mean, not to get too deep in the weeds, but I think this is exactly why college football needs a Roger Goodell to tamp down some of that, year to year turbulence that causes people to complain and completely pivot and make bad decisions, right? Like ownership in the National Football League is such, and the commissioner is such that you can have an upset Minnesota Vikings 14-win team. Not to say tough luck, but like them's the breaks. These are the rules we operate in, and we all signed up for this because if you win your division, you want the guaranteed opportunity and revenue and everything else that comes with hosting a playoff game. That's why we have 4-team divisions. I'll say this with respect to the game on Monday night, for the Rams audience, which has to take so much grief when the Green Bay Packers and other fan bases can schedule their whole fall around traveling to LA and SoFi Stadium, it looks like LA's really going to have a home field advantage on Monday night. And so I think from our perspective, speaking from the Rams out, it's, if it feels unfair, good. Make sure it really looks unfair on Monday night and that the Vikings have even more to complain about because you've got 90 to 95% of the seats filled and they go home unhappy.
So well said. JB, we appreciate it. We're hoping to hear your call right here on San Diego Sports 760 Monday night at 5 p.m. We're thinking about you and everyone impacted in Los Angeles County, and we appreciate you taking time for us.
You guys are the best. Have a good rest of your show.
All right, there's JB Long there. Again, Rams and Vikings scheduled to be played on Monday night at SoFi Stadium, but if things were to change because of the fires in LA, then the game would be played in Arizona where the Cardinals play. The game will be played, just don't know exactly where it will be played, but you can listen to that game wherever it's at Monday night right here, San Diego Sports 760. All right, coming up next, we'll get you ready for Aztec basketball tonight against Air Force. And my back page, stay with us. All right, final time here on Jon and Jim. Aztec basketball, 7:30 pregame at 6:30. I'm just looking on here on social media again, Brent, and fires in LA are not stopping. According to ABC7, new fires just sparked in Hollywood Hills, so that's not good. So hopefully everybody is safe, and again, this is something that you can't control. Like, you just got to get lucky, and it's just one of those times where the no pun intended perfect storm happens, and there's really nothing anybody can do about it. You can't control wind, you can't control fire, unless you can. But at this magnitude, yeah, you just not a lot you can do about it. So hopefully everyone stays safe. Hopefully nothing drastic happens tonight with this new fire in the Hollywood Hills. All right, Brent, let's get to it. All right, so let's turn this down here. When you think of Costco food, Brent, what's the first thing you think of?
Hot dogs and giant pizzas.
So Costco's iconic $1.50 hot dogs and drink combo. It's a staple of Costco.
Yeah.
All right. Costco CFO promises that hot dog and drink combos will never cost more than $1.50. Quote, those things help us be more aggressive in other areas or hold the price on the hot dog and soda for a longer time and forever. So Costco hot dog and soda combos has remained at $1.50 since 1985. That's good. I'm glad. If that thing went up by 50 cents, people that love Costco would freak out.
Look, the Costco hot dog and Arizona iced tea, those are the one things that have never been affected by inflation of
Really
any
haven't.
sort.
No, they haven't.
Arizona iced tea is still 99 cents. It's been that since I've been in like high school, or 79 cents, whatever it is, but it hasn't changed.
Look, the Costco hot dog.
It's legit.
Not gonna lie, it's good. It's really good.
I've never had a Costco membership, but I've been to Costco before just to go eat
Oh,
hot
yeah,
dogs and
for sure.
giant pizza slices.
For $1.50, like
Yeah, and it's a big hot dog too.
it's a massive hot dog. And also the double chunk chocolate cookie.
Yeah, not so much. I'm there for the hot dogs and pizza.
I don't know if I've had a double chunk chocolate cookie.
It's a cookie.
I see it everywhere on social media. Give it 5 big booms. Chipotle, Brent, is giving away 50,000 lifestyle bowls on January 10th. Chipotle is kicking off 2025 with a special giveaway for, quote, No Quitters Day on Friday. Friday, from January 2nd to January 9th, which is tomorrow, fans can join the promotion by texting Chipotle 3G to 888-222 for a chance to claim one of 50,000 free lifestyle bowls. Now you ask, what's a lifestyle bowl? It's basically like their protein bowls, like high protein bowls, veggie bowl, a keto bowl, a wholesome bowl with carnitas, basically everything that you don't like, Brent, which is lettuce and
Yeah, no thanks.
yeah. So, but look, you can have a chance to win, and they're giving away 50,000 of these things on Friday. So there you go. There, I would think for such a big giveaway, you'd want to do something that like is like your staple, right? I don't think lifestyle bowls are their staple thing to go to. It's probably, I don't know, burritos or just a regular bowl with rice and carnitas or chicken.
I never go to Chipotle.
Never?
No,
Why not?
because they put pico on everything, and
You get to choose though.
yeah, I know. And then they can choose whether they want to listen to me or not. And
Well, they have to, Brent. They're like, that's their job. You tell them you ask you what you want. You tell them.
yeah, I know. And then when they screw it up, then I have to drive all the way back, or I have to eat in the restaurant to make sure they don't screw it up. Lots of times it's not worth the hassle of having to tell them 800 times. So I just stopped going.
Taco Bell releases
They
new
don't do that at Taco Bell.
Baja Dream Freezes. Taco Bell is expanding its iconic Baja Blast lineup with the introduction of a Baja Dream Freeze launching on January 16th. These are available in 2 different flavors: the Baja Dream and strawberry Baja Dream with strawberry syrup. Do those sound appealing to you, Brent?
No, because I don't really get the whole Baja Blast thing, and everyone's
It's just like an
obsession.
icy,
Yeah, well, it's
like a flavored icy.
let's say what it is. It's a margarita flavored icy, but if there's no alcohol in it, then I don't really care.
Right. The best ones are like in Las Vegas at the Taco Bell like cantina, and you can get the Baja Blast with alcohol. That's great. Give me that with a couple tacos and cheese quesadilla, and we're good to go. So there's that. And then Sonic, Brent, is releasing 2 new drinks as
Oh,
well.
I was gonna say the Hedgehog or the restaurant.
No, the restaurant. Sonic, the new drink is called the Recharger with Red Bull mixes, Sprite, lemon, grape, and dragon fruit flavors. All right. I do like Sonic. Yeah. And their drinks, this is one that like their big thing, drinks and type of strawberry fusion. They definitely give their originality. Oh, always try. Yeah. Stuff like that. Very, very good. All right, thanks to JB Long for joining us. John, who's on his way down to San Diego State. San Diego State basketball tonight against Air Force 7:30 tip time, 6:30 pregame. So stay right here on San Diego Sports 760. Talk to everybody tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your night.